All right, welcome back, everybody, to Majora T Cast Revived. We died, and we're back, alive.
Yes.
Someone threw a phoenix down. We got Spencer back. We're going full circle. RPG Archive. Everybody, welcome Spencer from RPG Archive. What's up, Spencer?
Hey, Teddy, good to be back. Yeah, we did the first. Let me get this chronologically correct. We did the first revived episode together, right? That was your first one back. And then you've seen the rest, and now it's back to the best. I'm here to do revived with you one more time. Hopefully, not the last.
That's true. Yeah. Hopefully, this death isn't permanent. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
How have you taken to the new revived format since you've done you've run the gamut on it? How do you compare it to before?
I think it's the most, if I was to put one word to it, would be fruitful of the podcast that I've done on this channel. You know, I think that I don't think any of them are not valuable. I think they're all valuable for what they were for the time that I did them at. When I had first done them, it was kind of just figuring out, what is this even? What is a podcast, you know? Like,
what is it? Yeah.
I'm still figuring that out, you know, some 250 episodes later. And in the middle there, it was just kind of more casual, like, okay, let's just, you know, whoever wants to jump in, and we're good. And now it's like, well, I think I can trust my guests to want to talk about something. And I like giving a framework to do that and to kind of plan your own segment. So I still haven't figured out how to brand that, but I don't know that I necessarily need to either. So to be honest, I'm really happy with the progress. We've got some clips that have got, you know, over 100 views. I mean, even one from our episode. So, you know, that's a nice little stretch mark, but whether it hits it or whether or not, you know, as long as we're all coming here talking about something we want to talk about, then, you know, this T-Cast is truly revived in every sense of the word.
Excellent, man. Happy for you.
Thank you. Now let me turn that question on you. What do you think of the new Majora T Cast framework?
Yeah. I think it's been interesting to see what people come up with as like a topic. Because I think when you first introduced it to me, the way that we spoke about it, it was more, it felt more like we were talking about facts and figures. Like because we do RPG Archive almost exclusively, just the two of us. And we focus a lot on the facts and the figures of things, and we talk numbers. And I thought that's what you meant when you first brought up this topic on the first revived episode. So I tried to do one more that was more about that. And then I watched the other people do it, and theirs were a little bit more broad, of just more like ideas, and let's expand upon it. And so I think I'm kind of shifting towards that with my topic today. I'm not going to tell you now, but it was interesting to see other people's, because I think they generally pick the things that they're very, very interested in. And so like you would do like your most recent one. The most recent one was The Legend of Leo, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was interesting to hear him talk about the way that games are like, they're so big it almost makes it challenging to play them. Well, that's an interesting perspective, and I think you guys got a lot of interesting conversation off of it. So I think the way that you're doing it, letting people bring topics that specifically interest them, shows a lot about their personality and their, you know, lets them shine in ways that benefit them. So I think it's really cool.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. You know, it's something I haven't really experimented with. You know, I think I'm so used to just, okay, we got to plan this out. Like, you know, you're going to be on for this. I think the fear with that, you know, that mentality comes from is if I just go into a podcast kind of unplanned and I have nothing, and okay, we're just like twiddling sticks here, like what are we doing? But if you can introduce that freedom within a context or a framework, you can get some really good results. And I mean, I'm really pleased, whether the view count is 20 or 200 from any guest segment. I'm just really pleased with the content and the conversations that have come out of it. So I agree. And I think, we do come off of the archives that we had done on your channel. Shameless plug, viewers at home, check out RPG Archive. There's some great archive content over there related to all things RPGs, and go subscribe. But, I lean into the research and the objective fact-based conversations a lot of times, but I also don't want to restrict my guests either, because like you said, that there are good things that came out of some of the more broad topics too. So it's just whatever is working for you and whatever you're that interested to talk about. Great. Let's do it. Let's have a conversation based on it.
Sweet, man. Love it.
And just generally before we jump in, I just want to ask Spencer, what's up? How are you doing today?
I'm feeling great. I'm still gaining weight. I'm trying to hit 210 pounds. That's my end goal, hopefully by Christmas. And if I don't make it by Christmas, I'm sure the Christmas eating will get me over the 210 pounds. Because we have 2 Hispanic families, and we eat a lot of tamales. So I'm going to make sure that by the end of this year, I hit 210 pounds by hook or by crook. And that'll be the heaviest I think I'll ever be going forward. I'll probably just try to lose weight from then on. But had a little bit of an injury on my forearm. So going back to the board on things, it's healed now. But really like a wake-up call for getting your form right. And so I'm back to the drawing board on that and making some really cool progress with that. So
that's awesome, man. It's great to hear. Not about the injury, but everything else,
No, I bet that, you take it and you make it a positive, right? That's kind of what weightlifting's all about. Probably nothing anybody that's listening is interested in besides me and you. But it's kind of one of my passions, so that's what I'm up to.
I think that you'd be surprised though, because I've had talks with a couple people. Like, I won't divulge too much, but Legend of Leo, he has some background in the fitness world as well. So if ever the chance comes to have that conversation, it would be interesting. I know Ty Lord had mentioned stuff about the gym. Brian is a biker, vroom vroom. I think a thing about a lot of the I gotta love Brian. The thing that maybe we don't think about is that I think a lot of people want to be living well and to feel well. It's just they don't know where to start or how to start. And I'm not saying this is turning into like a how-to fitness channel, but I think us sharing these stories is important too.
Cool. How are you doing?
I haven't thought about that a lot lately. How am I? This is my crunch time, so if you don't see a lot of content from me, that's why. I have mixed feelings on it because it's torture, but it's also when I'm raking in the most dough. So I just have to get through September and October. I'm just in survival mode. The start of the school year is not bad so far. It's fine. Honestly, my group that I'm teaching, they don't seem too bad. So I think we'll be all right. I think I'll live.
As long as you live, that's the key.
That's the goal. That's the thing. That's the thing a lot of people don't tell you. Is just survive. Just make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Survive. Don't die.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. You started the first ever Majora T Cast segment. Well, I'm going to take that back from you today. I'm going to start. So we're going to do my segment, and then we'll do yours later. Sound good?
Okay. Cool. Sounds good.
One of the best handheld / consoles of all time is none other than Nintendo's 3DS. And we here at the Majora T Cast are here to look at what are some of the best-selling and most undersold games for that console. And I brought none other than Spencer from RPG Archive. What's up, Spencer? Nice to have you here today talking about 3DS with me.
One of my favorite consoles for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Is that a fact? Well, I picked the right person. Can we just start with a
Yeah.
little bit about your history with the 3DS? What does it mean, really, to you?
Oh boy. The 3DS is my first console back from a long hiatus away from gaming. I've told this story probably like 50 times now, but basically the Xbox 360 killed my love of gaming. It just I realized gaming was going in a direction I didn't like, so I pretty much stopped entirely and played PC for a while, and it was mostly League of Legends. There'd be little games here and there, but it was almost entirely that. And then I saw that a new Pokemon was coming out, which I hadn't played one in years, and it was like 3D. It wasn't, but it was like it was first marketed that way, and then you'd see screenshots. I was like, oh my god, that looks insane. And it was like it's coming to the 3DS. I said, okay, interesting. And I think I'll get a 3DS when that comes out, and just try to play Pokemon. And there's a X and Y if I haven't said that yet. And then I reasoned with myself and I said, well, if I'm gonna get it, and I'm waiting for X and Y to come out, I might as well just get it now and try out some of the games that are on it, and try to experience what 3DS games are. And then I talked myself into it, and I did get a 3DS, and then I got Fire Emblem Awakening with it. And I had a great time. It's not my favorite Fire Emblem, but it was decent. And after that, I played A Link Between Worlds and beat that in like 3 days. Um, and then I started amassing a collection. And by the time Pokemon X and Y came out, I actually didn't really like Pokemon X and Y that much, which is ironic. But I know I appreciated it, whatever, and then found like a million RPGs to play that I just completely fell in love with. So that's my relationship with 3DS. It's a very important console to me.
Excellent. Yeah, that Pokemon X and Y marketing must have worked because that's what got me into getting a 3DS in the first place, too. But there were so many other games that made it so much more meaningful to me. That first year with Animal Crossing, it was an automatic download day one for me. I just knew, like, not when it came out, but when I got my console, I knew that I would spend a lot of time, and I sure did. It also became my DS, my way to play a lot of DS games I missed out on, namely the Dragon Quest games. I remember playing Dragon Quest 4, Dragon Quest 5, pushing for Dragon Quest 7, and then we finally got it, and I was so overjoyed. I put a lot of time into Dragon Quest 8, although I never did finish it. And maybe even I can attribute my jumping back into turn-based RPGs with the 3DS. So I have a lot of nostalgia for it in that way. And I also remember some of the fun online, the Mario Kart 7, the Pokemon X and Y battles. Not as much, they were good, but just not to me as important.
Mm-hmm. That's funny you say it got you back into turn-based RPGs. The problem with me is I never left turn-based RPGs. I was obsessed with them. And then by the time the 360 came out and the games that were coming out there, they were dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the big things for me is like, okay, they're not going to make turn-based RPGs anymore. Like, what am I even doing? Why do I have an Xbox 360 to play? I think what really killed it for me was Fallout. Because they were like, Fallout 3 is coming out. And I was like, fuck yeah. We're going to get like an updated version of like a really great RPG from the yesteryear, and it's a first-person shooter. I'm like, oh no, it's like a dagger through my heart, and it was a fine game. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's like that's just how gaming was going, and it 3DS when it came out, I looked at all the cool like turn-based RPGs it had. I was like, this is where they've been hiding. This is fantastic, and so yeah, like. It's funny that turn-based RPGs, we have a different story for the 3DS, but they're kind of the same in a way of just like the return to turn-based RPGs.
Yours was the problem with being an RPG fan. Mine was just the opportunity of getting to be an RPG fan.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I figure a good way we can do this is maybe go tit for tat, number for number. We'll go the 10th best selling, followed by the 10th most undersold game. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Cool.
So go from best selling to work to undersold, and then back
Yes.
and forth.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. So, from Wikipedia's uncomprehensive list, this is a dynamic list, quote, and may never be able to satisfy particular standards for completeness. You can help by adding missing items with reliable sources. Only you can update the Wikipedia page for best-selling 3DS games. Number 10, Yokai Watch 2. Selling at 7.3 million copies. What is Yokai Watch 2? Bony
A
Spirits.
marketing monster.
Did this even come out in the West?
Yeah.
Okay.
I played Yokai Watch, the first one, and it has promise, but it's very shallow as an RPG. And it's meant for kids. So, you take it for what you will. I'm sure the second one is similar in combat. Hopefully it expands. I don't really know much about 2. But the first one, if I'm judging it by that, really fun, colorful characters, great graphics. Level 5 nailed it. Just a little shallow.
Yeah, the issue is that it will forever be compared to Pokemon in terms of gameplay mechanics. And Pokemon, for as much as you can criticize, some of the complexities, has a solid framework. Yokai Watch is a little shaky, but that's not the point. The point of Yokai Watch is like a cute kids, game, and it's a TV show first. Maybe not first, but when I think of Yokai Watch, I think of like the cartoon show. Its premise is like, these people who die and become yokai spirits in these cute, like, looking forms. And, like, that's supposed to be the fun. And the gameplay system is like a wheel. And it's, like, based on what you pick on the wheel. I barely remember it. I did play through the first game. And I thought it was fine. But I was hard-pressed to go back to it. It was, like, one of those weird, like, 3DS gimmicks. And I don't love it for that. But, I mean, I think it's probably, and I don't have the exact numbers up here, I imagine that this is a better selling in Japan game than it is in North America.
Well, it's proof of marketing, right? This is a game that clearly it's like all the buildup of a toy, and like, because I've even seen in Target like a Yokai Watch section. I'm sure it's gone now, but there was like it's all this like branding and marketing, and just the power to propel a game like this to the top 10 3DS charts. Because there's not a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot going on. But the marketing worked so well that they got it to like, what, 7.3 million looks like. So it's pretty impressive.
Well, this is also worth mentioning. This game was split into like 2 or 3 versions. Bony Spirits, Fleshy Souls, and Psychic Specters.
They did that with all of them. And again, it's just the Pokemon concept. They just took it and went their direction with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, enough about...
I think I have 3.
Do you?
Oh, but I'm not clear. There's supposed to be games on that shelf. I haven't put them there yet. I think I actually have 3. I think I bought it on like a clearance thing for like $7.
Okay.
So it's unopened. Maybe it's worth something. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Worth a playthrough. You know what else is worth a playthrough? Well, you know what is worth a playthrough for sure is Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS. This game sold worldwide approximately 1.15 million copies, according to VG charts. So that could get updated onto the Wikipedia list. But Spencer and I determined that we still think that's undersold. Spencer, can you tell us why that why you think that Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King on 3DS is undersold?
It's one of the best RPGs of all time, quite frankly. Dragon Quest VIII, I rank even higher than Dragon Quest XI, and I really liked 11. But under scrutiny, because I guess once it gets to the top of your list, you got to start picking things apart. It's 45 hours of RPG bliss. It's so well paced; it never drags. It's just a fantastic game. Best game on the PS2, probably. Metal Gear Solid 3 is up there, but we're talking about RPGs. It's the best one. Um, its graphics are beautiful and timeless. Ironically, I guess in the 3DS it could arguably look worse, but it still looks great on the 3DS. It added 2 new characters to it that you could play. They're not new characters, but playable characters. Yes. It only adds to one of the best RPGs I've ever played. It's the definitive version of it, and it's all portable. It couldn't be. You couldn't ask for more from a game, and I think seeing other RPGs on this list, I'm like, oh, Dragon Quest is better than any of these games. But it's a shame that at the time it's not even on this over a million list on Wikipedia. It is technically, but not on this list, and it's crazy that it isn't. It's so good.
And for reference, I did look at the PS2 version. It has about 5 million sales. So
Do you know why?
The Final Fantasy demo packing.
Criminal.
That's proof of concept right there. Your marketing.
It's so much better than Final Fantasy 12 too. It's so criminal.
Yeah, I bought this one day one, and I'm surprised that I didn't finish it. I was 30 hours in, so just knowing that makes me kind of be like, I should have just done it. I should have just sucked it up. But it's never too late to appreciate some Dragon Quest VIII. I remember the photography mode. There's like a cool added element. Comparing this to Dragon Quest VII on 3DS, it's just so much better. The freaking voice acting, the characters, the character party. Dragon Quest Poppy talks about VII's weak party. Here you go, VIII's got a pretty fantastic party. It has the on-screen enemy encounters, so that is technically, it depends how you view it. Most people don't like random encounters. That is an improvement to the PS2 version. Playing it portably, I don't hook up my PS2 ever. I'm sure people who play on the emulate and stuff, whatever, you can figure that out. But as far as official ways to play 8, debatably the best. And yeah, I really like it. I can't wait to go back and play it again. And 1 million for this game, I think I would have liked to see it hit at least 3, let's say.
Oh yeah, always pushing for Dragon Quest to sell well, to incentivize them to do more. I think 11 hit their metrics. I can see that. So excited for that. I wish it did it back here though, because we probably could have gotten more of the Monsters releases at the time and stuff. But
oh yeah, and I don't have the numbers up, but I think when I was looking, it was 880,000 of those copies were sold in Japan. So this was not that North American breakthrough that we wanted. Or needed. That we needed.
It's such a shame too. It's so good. It's like a perfect RPG. And it's such a shame that it didn't seem to break through.
What would be okay, so the other thing too is I think it was a 2016 release. That was the second to last year, maybe third to last year of 3DS games even coming out. So I don't know. What do you think is a reasonable metric for this version of the game? As far as sales go,
like what
would be your number? Like I said, 3 million for me.
Well, we didn't really talk about it, but on this list is Dragon Quest VII. I'm not going to look at 11 because that's Japanese only, but 7 sold 1.6 million. It says Fragments of the Forgotten Past. I don't know how much of that is American. Or at least not Japanese, but it's on this list. I would think it would sell more than 7, even though 7 was way more due for a remake and was a little bit older. But 8, I think, just has a warmer place in people's hearts, and I felt like people were more excited about 8. But I ironically, I don't see it on this list, and I see 7. In almost the 40th position, which is kind of crazy. So I would think that's the 1.6. I would think it would sell 2 million. Would be reasonable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe if it came out sooner and was more readily available, maybe if they marketed it with, I don't know, like the Pokemon demo or something, you know?
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I didn't even think about this, but I wonder what, just because knowing that Dragon Quest 8 didn't sell well, right? I wonder what it would have been like on the Wii U. Obviously, if we take the sales out, because this it didn't sell amazingly anyway, I'd be curious what it would look like on the Wii U. Like really cool graphics and shit. That'd be fucking badass.
Be a good excuse to boot up the Wii U, if anything.
Yeah. And then they could more easily move it over to like modern consoles, like just re-release it on the Switch, like they did with all the other ones.
I don't even think there's anything truly preventing the 3DS version from getting, remastered for the modern consoles, because there's nothing really touchscreen exclusive.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a while. I'm sure they added some little cutesy mini game or something they could just cut. But yeah, I would be down. The game's great. The game's so good. Dragon Quest 8. It's so good. I cannot wait till we do that.
Well, halfway there. All right, so can you take us through number 9s?
All right, number 9. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. 9.15 million.
Holy smokes.
These games are crap.
I never played even regular Sun.
I bought these on I bought Ultra Moon, I think, on a day after Thanksgiving sale, Black Friday. I think for $15.
Mm-hmm.
Booted up, hour in, put it down. Too many tutorials, too much talking. Pokemon is not about talking. It's about raising Pokemon and making them fight each other. I don't need somebody to tell me where the next town is. It's literally one road. I don't need somebody to stop me once I get to that town and tell me where I can buy the Pokeballs. It's one of 5 buildings in the town. Like the amount of babying that this series has evolved into is so disgusting. I it's not a game, right? Like at a certain point, let people find it. I don't know where Nintendo got so obsessed with holding people's hands, but it needs to stop. I can't play Twilight Princess. You guys were talking about Twilight Princess, and yeah, I think you said like something about tutorials. It literally prevents me from going back to playing that game. Is the first hour of it is completely tutorialized. It's the same with this stupid Pokemon game. Is people waiting in the bushes being like, careful, those bushes have I'm like, I'm 30 something. I'm 35 years old. I played Pokemon Red. I do not need you to tell me that.
Wow. Okay, Spencer goes in. Ultra edition. To my understanding, this one had it dropped gym leaders or something.
I think so. I think it's like regions, and now it's just challenges or something.
Some of that was weird to me. I don't defend the tutorials. The bigger issue to me was this is just a cash in on ideas oh, I'm just thinking of the boardroom meeting. What if we put Pokemon in Hawaii and Meowth looked, a little different or something. We had different versions of each game. And so he's like, yeah, Hawaii. And as somebody who's lived in Hawaii, I thought that was disgusting. I was just like, this is not representative at all of my environment. I feel that way about when video games do things with elements of my life. I'm just stop. That Fire Emblem teacher game, no, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with that. This Pokemon Hawaii game, I'm like, what are you guys going to butcher this time? So I had a personal vendetta against Sun and Moon when it came out. When Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out, I just imagined it would be just as bad. So I personally didn't play it. But does that mean other people can't enjoy it? No, if you enjoy it, that's fine. I mean, like, it's just a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you enjoyed it, I don't know what's wrong with you.
You must like walking with holding your mommy's hand down the street.
Yeah. Well, and there's several Pokemon games on this list. One of them is actually duplicated up there, but they need to make Pokemon have two modes. Baby mode, or I guess the default mode now, and then like 30-year-old guy that's playing this game mode, where they strip out the crap and just make, like, I don't want to hear the story of how the hula hoop god or whatever stole this or that. I don't care. I just want to battle my Pokemon and raise them to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any of the other crap in it. So please, Nintendo, there is a market. You have older fans that do not like the shit that you put in it. They just want the Pokemon. That's it.
You heard it here first, folks. Bloodthirsty Pokemon ready to sick each other in the neck.
Fuck yeah.
Ultra Violent
That's
edition.
all I want.
You've heard of Pokemon Violet. Well, here's Pokemon Violent.
Violence one.
Yeah. Blood red.
Contrast that.
Yeah.
Contrast that. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam is on this list at 1.08 million. Criminal. This game is fantastic. It combines the Mario and Luigi series, which is, Terry, the best Mario RPG series in existence.
Which one?
It's better than Super Nintendo's Mario RPG.
Okay.
It's better than Paper Mario.
Oh, snap. Paper Jam?
Okay. No, well, I'm just saying the Mario and Luigi series.
Oh, Mario and Luigi series is better than the Paper Mario series. Oh,
than the Paper Mario series. And the Super Nintendo game. I grew up with the Super Nintendo game. It's not a thing about, like, what do you nostalgia.
Yeah.
I grew up with the Super Nintendo one. If I'm supposed to like anything, it's the Super Nintendo one. Mario and Luigi, as a series, is better than that game. It takes some of the things that game does and makes it 10 times better. It's got a better art style. It's got better combat. It's got a better sense of humor. It's literally a better game. Okay, so you take that series and then combine it with Paper Mario. Paper Mario is in the game.
It's fusion.
And then you fuse bosses that are like origami. Like they fold and shit.
Wow.
Like it is a really creative, really great game. It's got awesome mechanics. It's got a 3-person team that all their moves combined together, and they have button presses. They do the whole thing. It is phenomenal. It should have sold way more than it did. It's criminal that this basically seems to have killed the series.
Wow.
I guess Paper Mario, ironically, is still going on against everybody's wishes, but it's still going on. But this Alpha Dream team consistently nails it. I guess some of these, they've been hit misses. I haven't played the Bowser one. I'm sorry. But I played the other ones, and they're all pretty decent. But the Paper Jam is phenomenal.
Cool. I have played the Bowser's Inside Story. It's nothing special. It's fine. Paper Mario is so beloved. A lot of people, fangirl out hard for those classic Paper Marios. Terry included, but a large swath of like the online gaming population. So to hear that it came back in like a standard traditional turn-based fashion, which is what everybody wants from that series, should be enough. But I guess people are so, adamant, oh, I need like just the standalone Paper Mario game. Well, Mario and Luigi is really solid too. Superstar Saga was my jam. It was incredible. It was a terrific game. It was combined dark with comedy at the same time. Partnering up with Bowser at a couple points. At some points, the Bean villain embarrasses Bowser. He makes him look puny. Yeah. It's really good. And so, yeah, I'd be interested to play Paper Jam. So, hey, undersold, but not unnoticed. And it's a three-person party: Mario, Luigi, and Paper Mario.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's incredible. It was. I was so surprised that everyone had such. I guess I understood why people had like a negative connotation of it, because the Paper Mario series at the time had fallen so far from its pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Because by then, we got the Wii. I don't know if at the time the Wii U one was out, but certainly Sticker Star was out, and people despised that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me assure you, this is what Sticker Star is, should have been. It is a full-fledged RPG with him in it. So I just don't. It's like they gave you what you wanted, you didn't buy it. So that's why you get Paper Mario today. Is because they gave you what you wanted, you did not buy it. They will give you Origami King or whatever the newest one is.
There you go. That explains it.
Reap what you sow, boys.
Yeah, show up. It's half the battle.
Yep.
Well, speaking of showing up, a lot of people showed up for number 8. A whole community. It's Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS.
Yep.
Coming in at 9.64 million units sold. Combined work. That doesn't really apply. But yeah, it's Nintendo's beloved Super Smash Bros. Series. Wow, this was a game. Did you buy this one on 3DS?
Sure did.
Me too. Did you buy it on Wii U?
Sure did.
I didn't.
One word review for the Super Smash Bros. For 3DS. Oops.
What is that? My thumbstick?
Yep, that's the sound of your thumbstick falling off.
Yeah. Did you break a thumbstick on a 3DS?
No, but I heard everyone else did, so I stopped playing it.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, I'll just keep it, and that's cool, but I'll just play it on the Wii U. It's much better there anyway. So like, let's just be happy that I had it, and then we'll move on.
my thumbstick looked like a dog bit a chunk out of it. It was bad. But it was so much fun. It was my only way to play the game. Honestly, with the whatever Switch one having came out, I remember almost nothing about this.
Oh, it's forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a demo.
There's really like only, I'd say 3 Smash games in my mind. I guess 4 if you count that Wii one, but it's 64, Melee, and Ultimate.
Yes. Those are the 3.
Brawl is fine. Story
Crap.
mode is fine.
Brawl has the thing where your characters can trip, right?
Yeah, slipping mechanics.
Okay, you're out. Brawl's out. Wii U was the best if you want just the full featured game, but Ultimate beat it in every way. So it basically just deleted that game. Melee is good for people that hate themselves and want to cheat to play a game and call that how the game was intended to be played. That's the only reason Melee still exists, is people wave dashing like little monsters. And to me, the best one is the N64 version. It's completely separate from the rest of the series. And so it's like, I like to play that one or Ultimate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Melee, I also genuinely like the adventure mode, and maybe I hate myself a little bit, just going and collecting trophies and capsules and stuff. But
it was fun.
It is, yeah. The history element is cool too. They give you little like insights into these, and at that time, it was a lot of shit you didn't know about. We weren't out here on Wikipedia looking up like Fire Emblem, who's Marth, It was just like a big thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing about, and I'm rating it not on the single player shit, because the single player shit is its own beast, and all the games offer something for you. But from a competitive standpoint, to me, the 64 version is very pure, and then Melee is wave dashing people, and then Ultimate is true competition at its finest. As far as the single player shit, actually probably Brawl has the best one, if I can recall it. I didn't play much of it, but
debatable.
It seemed pretty cool.
It's fine. And a lot of people like it. I just thought it was like it's just an excuse to get to play a story that like combines all the characters. It almost feels like Final Fantasy-esque in that way.
Okay.
But it's fun.
Yeah, Melee was the shit when that game came out. Holy crap. There was no better fighter.
Kids bring their GameCubes
Melee.
to school to like go play freaking Melee. Well, back when I was in grade school anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it went down on Melee.
Yeah, they were very serious. You couldn't get them off the TV. They'd be cutting class, going to the cafeteria lounge. It was a big thing.
Melee was so good they just perfected Melee when they made the Ultimate.
Yeah.
Like and the ones after, they were just building off of Melee, not the N64 version. They're building off of Melee, and that's why I can still beat the shit out of Alex when he challenges me to Ultimate. I played Ultimate for maybe 20 minutes, but I like it. But then when he brings Ultimate, I'm just playing Ness and Peach because that's who I played on Melee, and they play the exact same, and I can destroy him in that. And then he starts playing characters I don't know. It's a toss-up.
Well, you can also destroy me. I will add that in there. So I was the worst of all three of us. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we did have a 1v1 or maybe we didn't. But yeah.
I just remember Alex like challenging me, and I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, he's gonna tear me up. I haven't played this before. And then I just it's one of the, and I'm not really bragging because I'm very bad at a lot of games. Okay, he's beaten me at plenty. Just watch the Resident Evil thing we did on button mappers.
Yeah.
Right. We played Resident Evil some time thing. I thought it was only supposed to be for 3 minutes, and I took probably half of that time. But on Smash Bros, no joke, I tore his ass apart, and it's because I was playing Melee. That's all it is.
My coworker, he probably won't care that I share this story. He might be listening. What's up, bro? He said, because on the last day of work, I brought my Switch to work to play Smash Bros. Or not to play Smash Bros. I just wanted to play Super Mario 3D World with my coworkers. I thought that would be fun. But I had all my games. And he's like, dude, you got Smash? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to play? And I thought that I said, yeah, but I'm pretty good. You know, and not like the best, but like, you know, I'm pretty good. Like I know what I'm doing. He's like, yeah, no, I want to play. And he didn't stand a chance. Like, cause you know, I know what Smash is, and I know the combos and everything. And so we were talking with coworkers at like, you know, I invited him over, and he was like, dude, he, you know, Teddy played me in Smash, but he didn't tell me how good he was. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I did. And he's like, dude, he knows like all the combos and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I know the game. Like I played
the combos of Smash.
Yeah, it's funny to me because you know, if you think of like fighting games, like real fighting games have like the real combos. Smash is like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, you can like, you know, hover
juggle
side into the wall, or you know, be up, be left, be right, whatever. But
I think technically doesn't like the Street Fighter character have a combo? Like Ryu or something has like you can do a Hadouken with
maybe.
One of the
is he DLC or does he just get included?
I thought they all just got included. I am so out of the loop on it. Because I only play Ness and Peach. I think they're included.
Oh, okay. You don't play the Dragon Quest hero?
Never. I've never played it. I don't even. You came over. I don't think my Smash Bros exists anymore. I'm pretty sure from some means it was sold or it's gone. So I need to go get it again, just to have fun with it. But no, I haven't even played the hero. I've never played any of that.
Interesting. Okay, well, I guess Smash Bros. Was well earned, although it's aged horribly. In contrast to that, number 8 on our list is looking like Shin Megami Tensei 4 with 600,000 copies sold. Look,
where can you learn more about that game? I think you can learn more about it somewhere.
Yeah, I think Atlas is a good source. Maybe Wikipedia. Oh wait, it's RPG Archive. Woohoo!
That's right. You and Alex from TurboZone did a whole thing on it.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We did an archive podcast on it, about 3 hours long, chock full of segments. Go check it out if you're more interested in the game. I don't have too much to say on it. It is one of my favorite turn-based RPGs ever, and I think it is I hate to boil it down to Pokemon for adults, or dark themed Pokemon, because it is so much more than that. But it is, as far as from a gameplay perspective, it is very much that. With the exception of like when you fuse demons, they become new demons. They're not necessarily like the same monster. They're all rooted in mythology, and you're in this post-apocalyptic setting. You got a banger of a soundtrack, and then the post-apocalypse is happening only in Japan. Like
yes, they're always very localized in these SMT games. It's like, man, Japan was rough for like a couple weeks there.
Yeah.
It would not be a list of undersold 3DS games without an Atlas title in here, for sure. SMT4 is probably the biggest one. It is. I played a little bit of it. I let you guys handle the archive of it, but it has a lot of things that I think 5 took and expanded upon. But I gotta say, SMT4, especially at the beginning, is hard. It's a very difficult game. It is not forgiving. I think as you expand your resources and learn the game and get demons with more HP, it probably gets a lot easier. But especially at the beginning, it is very hard. I suspect the difficulty. I never read the reviews on this when it came out or anything, but I suspect that might have scared people away.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because it's a very good game.
Well, this solves your Pokemon tutorial problem.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. But that's cool. Like I remember playing it and I just got wiped very early in the game, and I was like, "Oh shit. I guess I got to learn how to play the game better." And I did. And it helps you get further, and then you get to upgrade your equipment, however you want to call that. And then it expands your repertoire. It is phenomenal. It's an amazing game, and it's a shame that it didn't break 1 million.
That would have been nice to see. I think it's a deserving at least million seller. It might be the best in the series. It's debatable, but I think that, especially from a narrative framework, it's pretty sound. And there's clear contrast between right and wrong. The morality system is pretty well implemented here. So it has so many good things going for it. Maybe just a victim of its platform. I do hope they bring it back someday in some way, shape,
graphically too, it's no slouch. It looks really good for a 3DS game. Like, there are games on the 3DS that don't look nearly as good as this.
Mm-hmm.
Like on this list, it don't even look close to this game.
And it doesn't do a lot. Like, it's simple, but what it does well.
Mm-hmm.
From a visual standpoint, I mean.
Yeah.
Because, like, you'll get, like, still frame images, but they'll, like, zoom in really interestingly. It's a very artistic interpretation or creation.
Well, but, like, when you're exploring the world, like, out of combat, the world it's like in full 3D, which was pretty rare on the 3DS anyway, ironically. But it looked good. Like, the 3DS has a very low resolution. I think it's something like 300 or 200 by whatever. It's very low resolution. But the world, they managed to make the world look really good with particle effects in it too. So props to them. They made a really good game.
As far as the difficulty point, I remember unlocking casual difficulty by dying. So if you need casual mode, it is there. And then another cool thing, you could either use in-game currency or your play coins that you gathered by walking with your 3DS in power save mode to respawn. So you wouldn't truly game over. I mean, you don't truly game over anyway. You start from your last save point. But it was a nice thing if you got caught off guard. I did it once or twice.
Yeah.
Can you take us through number 7? I just want to switch my chair out because this one is making me slouch.
Okay.
Cool.
Number 7 is Super Mario 3D Land at 12. A huge jump from Super Smash Bros. at 12.87 million. Released on November 3rd, 2011. And these numbers are as of March 31st, 2023. Damn, most of these are. A lot of these are. I did not play that. I don't really play platformers, but it makes sense. I mean, it's Mario and it's a Nintendo console, so should be on there. I don't know.
It was an early game too. I think it benefited from using the 3D engine because you would put on the 3D mode and a couple of the puzzles would, like, a cube would come into focus and then you would see the type of platforming you were supposed to do. I just felt it was so rare, and it is very much playable even without it. That thing was pretty well implemented. Granted, good looking game and a couple memorable levels. I remember, but my favorite ones are like the retro throwback ones. It was pretty expansive too. You know, these Mario World or Land games usually have like 8 worlds. I think this one had 16. It had an extra 8 afterwards, and then like a couple collectibles. And as far as like from a visual standpoint, it maybe looked like a GameCube game being played portably, which was pretty big for what was the year? 2013, 2012.
2011.
2011. Yeah. So for its time, it was a really impressive game. Pretty, standard fare though. I don't think too much about it when thinking about like the most standout Mario games. 3D World probably stood out more.
I wonder too if it's because it was released so early.
Yeah.
That you'd be like, it's also like the only platformer that's on at the time or something, or one of the few. And then I'm sure it had a lot of cool sales later on that people could just snag it for $20.
Well, 2011 was the 3DS launch year, I want to say.
Probably around there. Yeah, I don't see any games. Yeah. Trying to see if there's anything prior to that. I don't see anything. I'm sure there is, but maybe 2010. But yeah, it came out around then, so yeah, probably nothing else to buy anyway. And then if we switch over, I think if we're doing it as I think we're doing it, the next one would be Metroid: Samus Returns.
That it would.
It's a Metroid game. Come on. It's a good one too. They remake. This will be the sequel. The
remake of 2.
Or of 2. Okay.
I want to say. Yeah.
Obviously, grossly expanded upon. The remake. The 2 was very low and everything. This is like a full-fledged game, like AAA at this point. It added some really cool features to it. Some that aren't necessarily Metroid-ish, but I think Dread took some of it and ran with it. Just a great Metroid game that you can play on the go. Like, holy shit, that's awesome. There's not like a whole lot to say because it's Metroid, so everyone should know about it. But maybe just proof that Metroid is more of a hardcore gamer thing and not as mainstream as a lot of people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people are like, why haven't they done Metroid Prime yet? Like, that's the people that really like Metroid Prime, not realizing that Metroid itself is not as strong of a brand as Nintendo wants it to be. So right. I think that's probably proof.
And I mean, to these guys' credit, Miss Mercury's Steam, these are the guys who did Metroid Dread. It's one of, like, almost, they did Metroid, Samus Returns, they did something in between, and then they did Metroid Dread. So, I think Nintendo even saw their potential. This is just over 500,000 sales in 2016, 2 years before the 3DS is officially kaput. It was really, like, I think it's a deserving title to be on this list because it's so much of a unique title for its time. It's not just like, Metroid 2 again. Metroid 2 on the Game Boy is nothing phenomenal, but they made it pretty playable, all things considered. I remember 100%ing it, and I did have my issues with it. I did feel a little cookie cutter, which is not necessarily what I love about a Metroid title, but I wouldn't call that more than a nitpick. I still think it was a really solid project, all things considered. So I was very happy with it. I don't know what the Metroid Dread sales are. I'm trying to just see if it pops up on the wiki page here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have a one quote here. In the United States, Dread debuted at number 3 and sold 854,000 copies in its first month, making it the fastest selling Metroid.
3.04 million units worldwide as of December 2022.
Best selling Metroid game. Yeah.
But you know what, too? The Switch is freaking hot. And especially last year.
Mm-hmm.
Super hot. So that's probably contributing to it. And also there was a drought of games. I remember that from last year. That there was because I think the whole COVID thing really put a damper on releases. Because I remember 2021 and 2022 being pretty barren.
Yeah.
So now all the big games are coming out just now in 2023. We're finally getting Starfield and so just I'm sure that game slipped in at just the perfect time.
Sure. So, I mean, when you think about it too, with COVID restrictions of 2020 to 2021, team meetings are happening over what, Zoom?
Yeah.
So what kind of progress can you make on a video game over Zoom?
Yeah.
So, the fact, and I don't know how big Mercury's team is. I presume not that big because it doesn't seem like they work on that many games. So for them to really come out in 2022 and do it with Dread, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that they made the progress they did. So if anything, Samus Returns, while it didn't, sell as much as maybe we'd like it to, was still a nice stepping stone.
Absolutely.
Thank you for number 7. Let's go to number 6. Animal Crossing New Leaf with 13.04 million copies. You played it?
Yep. Could there be a better game for the 3DS? I don't know. It seems perfectly tailored for it. Great game.
Yeah. I think it is a nice game to take portably because like you're saying, it's one of those simulation games where you kind of have to play pretty regularly. I played it for a full year, never played it again. I think it's well deserving to be on the list. And I mean, obviously the Switch one was the New Horizons. That was a phenomenon. The 3DS one was really good though too. So I don't know.
Some people think COVID was planned, and I'm like, okay, well, who's planning it? And they'll be like, I think it was the Chinese government. Or then there's other people I think it's a hoax from America or whatever. If anybody planned COVID, it was Nintendo, because they caused COVID, and they're like, oh, you have to sit at home. How about you play this game that we're just going to release? Animal Crossing New Horizons or whatever it was called. It's you can live away from all this and go to Animal World. And it was it could not have released at a more perfect time.
It's
so Nintendo, I'm watching you.
Oh, China. Well, it's actually just turn your eyes a little eastward.
Yeah, just a little bit. That's your guy.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on it. I think it's a good game.
It's a good game.
Yeah. Let's go to another good game. Maybe great, depending on some standards. It is Mario Golf World Tour for 3DS.
We're not going to do Theater Rhythm?
Did I skip it? Well, let's go to Theater Rhythm on 3DS. 510,000 copies. Okay, a little spoiler alert for number 5. That broke the chronology. I thought I saw them all, but
it slipped in at the end.
Yeah. Well, look, hey, you get a little
your teaser.
2 for 1. The twofer. Super special. They're close. They're only 20,000 apart. Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy music. This was a game on 3DS where you could use the stylus to tap with alongside your favorite tracks from I think the first 12 Final Fantasy games. And it was in a chibi style. I remember using this as a music player. You could close the 3DS and then listen to music through your headphones.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Couple games let you do that. There's another one in this list I'll talk about that does that. But yeah, even though I had never really played Final Fantasy games up to that point, I never finished one. I still like the gameplay in this game. They came out with a Dragon Quest game, a Theater Rhythm one.
In Japan, right?
Yeah. So maybe if this was a million seller, we could have got Theater Rhythm Dragon Quest. It's too bad.
To be fair, though, I think Final Fantasy's music is better
Yeah, it
than
is.
Dragon Quest.
What would it even be for Dragon Quest? It would just be like the
It'd be like 8
overture.
songs.
Yeah, over and over with different like instrumentation.
Yeah. Here is with a bagpipe. I don't have a lot to say on theater rhythm because I play games on mute for the most part, especially portable games. Oh my god. Like that's a portable game is almost guaranteed to be on mute because I'm watching something while I'm playing it. 90 Day Fiance while you're playing Dragon Quest and grinding. Beautiful. Beautiful. Highly recommend. But really unique idea to take the you build a franchise over 30 years and then you're able to use those assets for different things. And I admire that they did it they're like, let's take all this music that's so beloved that people think is so great and let's make a game just around the music. That is using your brand to its full potential. And I respect that.
I always thought they should do something similar for Zelda.
They did. It's not similar to this. So let me correct that. But they did a game called it's on the Switch.
Oh,
it's
Hyrule
a Zelda
Cadence of Hyrule or something.
Yes. That's based on the music, right? And you're timing your character based on the music.
It is a music centered game, but it's such a different thing. It's not about like enjoying or recreating. I guess it is recreating the music through like step and attack fashion. So I tried that first version of it though, and it's way too difficult. So I don't know if that Zelda version has that same problem.
Gotcha.
But that's a good point. Maybe it's worth checking out. I should look into more information about it. Okay, that was 6. Take us to number 5.
New Super Mario Bros. 2? What the fuck is that?
6 golden, or not 6 golden coins. It's just golden coins.
Is that what it says? Just golden coins?
Yeah. New Super Mario Bros. 2, just golden coins.
Just the golden coins, baby.
Nothing but coins.
13.41 million. Holy shit. What?
It's yellow.
Wait.
So on this list, if it's yellow, there were pack-ins with certain versions of the console. Spencer froze at a face of enjoyment. Pure enjoyment.
It probably was packed in with the NES.
Our connection dropped. But it's
Okay,
back.
I'm back.
We're back. Okay, cool. I enjoyed that, though.
Yeah, I bet you this packed in with the 2DS.
Oh, yeah. That sounds about right.
I didn't know they released a second one. I remember the first one on the DS.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know they made a second one. Why would they do it? Super Mario 3D Land is just below it. It's a 3DS console. Why would you make a 2DS game? I guess to celebrate the 2DS. I don't know. That's crazy to me, though. That's weird.
Proof's in the pudding. People bought it. You know? And I did. It's one of the most unremarkable Mario games. Everybody says the same thing about, it just feels so uninspired. This is when people start going like, they're doing the same thing over and over again.
Didn't you guys talk about this game when you were talking to
Come on.
Games with T?
Yeah.
And you said that these new Super Mario games he liked them, but you were like, it's pretty forgettable. And I think I remember playing the first one, and it was like, it is a Mario game. Like that was my takeaway of it.
Yeah. I feel that way about Mario 3D Land, which, some people say is like sacrilege. Like, oh yeah, it's a great game, but whatever.
And then underappreciated, we have another Mario game, Mario Golf World Tour at 490,000 sold. I'm not a big golf guy, but we have gone golfing.
That is true. Yeah. We golfed with a real life Mario character. I think it was Wario. And his mistress, Birdo. This was a really good game. Yeah, yes, thank you to Wario and Birdo. Mm-hmm. They showed us the ropes and didn't harass us. This is a really good game. It's very Well, it's not better than Toadstool Tour, but I think it's competent enough, and especially compared to that Switch one. The Switch one feels a little bit gimmicky, maybe bare bones. I don't know about bare bones, but I don't like what the Switch one does, and this one I just feels like straightforward golfing, bunch of characters, beautiful environments. Yeah, there's some like sketchy DLC, but whatever. It's a good game.
Okay. That's probably how I'd prefer to play it on a 3DS.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers.
Well, now you can. Speaking of druthers, it might be your favorite Pokemon. We're going to number 4. It's Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Oh, we're going to nothing but Pokemon now.
This fucking list, man.
Maybe we should just get it out of the way. 4, 3, and 2.
Look, I don't love Ruby and Sapphire. I know you and Alex, that's more your jam. It is not my jam.
Paper Jam.
It's not my paper jam, man. I think it probably peaked around Gold and Silver, and I could see it going downhill at around here. And then this is the remake of those. So let's add more stuff from the newer games that nobody my age likes. Ugh.
What are the big selling points here? It's like mega evolutions. Don't care.
Nope.
Ugly 3D polygon visuals. Bleh. Compressed.
Good.
You know, weirdly orchestrated versions of the soundtrack. Prefer the chiptune.
Play it on mute.
Yeah. And just handhold to hell and back. You get experience share for all freaking Pokemon. And, you know, just pacify the hell out of this experience. I think basically every freaking trainer or gym leader has like very few Pokemon, maybe like 1 or 2. So way too easy.
Let my Pokemon kill each other. That is what I want. That's all I have to say.
Battle to the death. Okay, we can go to number 4 of the actual good ones. The undersold. Hatsune Miku Project Mirai. Have you ever played a Miku game?
I didn't even know what that was until like a year ago.
How did you find out?
I was looking for like RPGs to play or something, and for some reason this kept coming up as she's like an idol character, isn't she?
Yeah.
Or some kind of like. I still don't fully understand it. I'm too old.
She's a Vocaloid. So it's not really somebody singing. It's artificially produced music, but it's actual music.
Oh, okay. It's all synthesized.
Yeah, I imagine it's still somebody behind a keyboard, like, producing the song.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can blame Miku for VTuber culture. I don't know.
I don't even.
Or thank her. Depends on your framing.
Hatsune Miku is so far out of my wheelhouse. I couldn't even begin to talk about it with any kind of knowledge base. But I know it has fans, so I'm a little bit surprised it isn't in the million sellers.
Yeah, they usually are. They're usually pretty high sellers. I think the thing about this one, it was a chibi version, but it's still very playable. You get to enjoy the music of Hatsune Miku. And it uses the touch screen to really good effect. And like the Theater Rhythm game, you can actually listen to a lot of the Miku soundtrack portably. So pretty cool.
Sure.
Okay, 3. Pokemon, Sun and Moon. Talked about it. 16.3 million. Moving on. That's it, right? I don't want
to let them kill each other.
Yeah, leave them out in the sun too long, they die.
Etrian Odyssey 5.
Etrian Odyssey 5.
You can find out more about this game on RPG Archive. We did a whole map out of My Worlds Collide. I guess we could really just talk about the series in general. A very underappreciated Atlas gem. Hardcore RPG enthusiasts only. Maybe that's why it sells poorly. Maybe just because it's an Atlas game. Mm-hmm. They just have to sell poorly. It's part of the requirements. Unless you're named Persona. Fantastic series of games. Long. difficult. I think people are turned off by the stylus map, but I find it to be pure bliss. I find that little more rewarding than mapping out an entire area, just so I know where everything is. Going to a new one and you got another blank canvas. I adore it, but I can understand why people might. I've told people that it's one of the best RPGs I can play, and they try it and they're like, I don't do maps, and it's like, all right.
It makes sense you mistook it or made the Freudian slip and called it a map out because you literally map out the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say, so we have the data for 5, which has 270,000 copies sold total worldwide. On the 3DS alone, they're all around this range, is like 200,000 to 300,000. On the 3DS alone, you can get Etrian Odyssey Nexus, which is the first game remastered, Etrian Odyssey 2, a remaster of the second game, Etrian Odyssey 4, which is a brand new game for 3DS, Etrian Odyssey 5, also a brand new game for 3DS, Etrian Odyssey Nexus, which is like the penultimate Etrian Odyssey game, and Etrian Odyssey Mystery Dungeon, or Etrian Mystery Dungeon. So I think, while it kind of sucks, they're all around like 200K sold total. I don't think they have to do a lot of work in, changing the assets around. So maybe that was like a banking strategy to help them get a lot of their money back. To just keep coming out with a new Etrian Odyssey game, which good because there's so much to enjoy there.
Here is how criminal it is, though. There were 2 games you didn't list, and you're right to not, because they're not. They weren't marketed that way. Persona Q and Persona Q2, both of them are phenomenal games. And they're marketed more as Persona games, which were huge. After Persona 4, people love that series. Persona 5, it blew up even more. Persona Q2 is about 5, 4, and 3, combining all of them. And even those couldn't sell well. I just checked; they're not on this list, because people knew that they were the Etrian Odyssey style. So they're not on they're not even on. Those have auto mapping. If you want, you can turn that on where it's completely done automatically. So you don't even have to use
Etrian Odysseys too.
Yeah, I think they realized that people didn't like it, but I think people still just think of it as that. Mm-hmm. And it's like all these games are so good. Right. Deep RPG mechanics, and yet just can't get out of the gate, man. I wonder how the remake sold. Be curious.
Yeah, something to think about. Do you have any interest in playing it?
3. Because 3 doesn't have an untold version.
That's true.
But otherwise, no. I don't want to. To me, it's meant to be played on the dual screens.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Etrian Odyssey. Well, let's go back to your favorite. It's Pokemon X and Y, perhaps maybe the real heinous offender here.
What a broken promise.
This is game number 2, 16.68 million copies.
I was told 3D Pokemon. That's what I was told. Technically, graphically, it is. But it is not 3D Pokemon. Mm-hmm. They only just did 3D Pokemon with arguably Arceus, or more realistically with Scarlet and Violet as the original Pokemon mechanics.
Okay.
Like, how did it take them this long? This fucking Game Freak company.
Terry will argue with you. The GameCube maybe had it first.
Well, that's Terry.
Okay. X and Y still sucks. I think we all agree on that. It's yes. You know what? It was still a huge game. I think the online was what was perfected. I remember doing a lot of online battles and watching people on Twitch. A lot of Pokemon stuff I didn't care for. I don't even remember the story at all. It's so forgettable. I
just remember it had France.
Paris, yeah. There's the Bleeding Tower, and that was the worst town. I remember it for being bad.
Yeah. It was like a big circle, right?
Yep. It is bad.
Terrible.
Well, let's go to something better than that that deserves our attention. You take this one.
Return to Popo LaCroix. Um, I mean, I can totally see why nobody bought it. It only had one. It's a sequel to a game that came out on the PSP, if I remember correctly, which completely died. Um, it also combined the Harvest Moon, new Harvest Moon shit.
Story of Seasons.
Story of Seasons. So you could do farming, which I completely neglected to do when I played it. But as a pure RPG goes, it's really a true to form of just the basic mechanics of it being perfect. Its pacing was so quick. It was probably 20 to 25 hours long. It got in, got out. Great customization mechanics. It could get deeper if you wanted. It has New Game Plus. It's got so much going for it. I never see people talk about it, and I've probably mentioned it in these kinds of lists like 50 times. So you're tired of me talking about it, but it really is just like a solid game. And because it's so small, nobody ever talked about it. I wish it did well so we could get more of it. I like the idea of them combining Story of Seasons. I guess that would be in a way like Rune Factory or whatever, but it wasn't. Rune Factory is more of like a like life sim, whereas this is more of just a straight up RPG that also had a farming mechanic in it. So I really like that, and I wish they would continue that. And so innocent. Like you can make an RPG that isn't like Dragon Quest is great. Dragon Quest and then this game are like the only like innocent RPGs that exist now. Everything else is like we got to add a bunch of sex to it, or we got to add. I'm going to talk about it later as my topic, where you just have to add stuff that's like so edgelordy, and it has to make you cringe in some way that it's like so dark. And it's nice to see a game that it doesn't try to do that. It's just like a nice little fairy tale.
I played it. I enjoyed it. I just remember you really liking it. And yeah, second lowest on the list as far as sales, around 200,000, 220,000. It's actually not bad for what it is, but yeah, no real standout seller. And I mean, nothing's happened with this series since, so people don't crave this kind of game, which is sad. Like you said, everyone wants like that like loud type of whatever it is, like video game, movie, channel to watch. And sometimes it's nice to just kind of enjoy the more chill stuff, and I think it's a chill game.
Do you know what they think we want?
Do I know what they think we want? Who's they? The gamers, the game companies.
Yeah.
The game companies think we want tits.
Yes.
Like child faces on women.
Yes. That's a little weird. A little creepy.
But they do it. And maybe like masochism or something, like against,
Yeah. Violence for the sake of violence.
Yeah.
They think we want Final Fantasy 16. That is not my topic for today, but fuck Square Enix if they think that's that is bullshit. That game is a big pile of horse shit. And it's like I haven't played it. I have no interest in it. As soon as I learned that it wasn't an RPG anymore, it was just Devil May Cry, but they called it Final Fantasy. It's done. It might be fun. The gameplay might be fine. But it just represents everything that I hate that they think we want. Like it needs to be a Game of Thrones clone. Like it has to be like play like Game of Thrones. If Game of Thrones was a video game. Like no. Fuck that. Like make a good game. Make a good fantasy game. The characters need to be edgy. They can't be turn-based anymore because people don't have patience for turn-based. I beg to differ. I strongly beg to differ. And I hope they see the sales of Baldur's Gate 3 and realize how fucking wrong they were. And really go back to the drawing board and realize the mistake they've made. Hopefully.
That's a topic. Yeah. I mean, when I think of like the nominees for like game of the year, I'm not thinking Final Fantasy. I don't even know. Yeah, I know a couple people have played it and they're really into it, but I don't know. Nobody's
Final Fantasy sold okay, not nearly as well as they wanted it to, which is why you're seeing so many advertisements for Final Fantasy VII, the next episode.
I see.
Because it did not do as well as they wanted it to, so they're moving on.
Dude, Final Fantasy VII episodes still? Like, where are we at? What's happening?
It took too long. I think again, COVID bungled that. It was supposed to be a little bit more sequential, and then it just completely fell off the map for forever.
Even then, and that I think that's overblown, that first one. I'm sure it's a good episode.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
But well, yeah, it is kind of a ripoff. That is not the whole game. I can see that for sure.
Well, let's talk about a full game. The best-selling game for the 3DS is Mario Kart 7 at 18.98 million. Is this even fair? It was included on so many 3DSs.
It's a good game.
Yeah. Nobody's favorite Mario Kart.
Yeah, nobody's favorite, but damn if you can't play an online Mario Kart game on the go. That's pretty fucking cool, novelty-wise. I think, like, the DS one was the first. Or maybe you could play... I think you could play Double Dash, technically. Like, if you land it.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong on that. I feel like I remember... At least you could do it at LAN parties, at the very least, if I remember correctly. But I might be wrong. But,
that'd be crazy,
anyway.
too, because you could do 16. You could do, like, a round of 8 people, but, you know, one controller is half the cart.
That would be fucking nuts.
Dude.
Double Dash was a party, man.
Yeah. 7 was good. I just don't know how much it changed the game. So.
No. And it shouldn't. At this point, why change Mario Kart? You know?
I was talking with the Legend of Leo about this because there's nothing to do after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's everything. You know, or I was talking with Alex first, and then Legend of Leo was like, well, there's got to be something. And like, we've had 8 Mario Karts, and they've never had a story mode. You know, so like, there is room.
There you go.
Yeah, there is room for something here.
That's an idea. But surely Mario Kart 8 proved Nintendo could do games with service, whatever the phrase is.
Sure.
Games as a service. That's what Mario Kart 8 is. And it's made them, I'm sure. I haven't looked at the numbers, but holy shit, I'm sure that game has made. This and Smash Bros. Have probably made a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume if they are going to make another one, they should make a story mode like a Diddy Kong Racing kind of mode, where it's like an open world.
Yeah,
that would be badass,
dude. They won't. I dare you, Nintendo.
You won't.
Just do it. Just try it. Like, see what happens. All right, Spencer, what is the number one most undersold game that we came up with on the 3DS?
I think it's a game neither of us have played. Is that fair to say?
Fair.
Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward. It sold 0.06 million, so 60,000 units. That's according to VG charts. Whenever I hear about this game, it's people's like favorite like text-based game or whatever, or a visual novel style game. It's always on the people's like top 10 lists of like portable game, like DS games or 3DS games or whatever. It's always up there, and yet it sold remarkably poorly. Like, I didn't even know they had games that sold this poorly. But here it is, you know?
60,000 units.
That's bad.
That may be the lowest
for a game that
I've
people
ever
love
seen.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So let me understand it. Is it a virtual escape room?
I don't know. I know it's a visual novel. And then we can make predictions, uneducated predictions about it based on that.
Did you play 999?
No,
Okay,
I heard
that's
that was
another
good too.
one. Yeah.
But it's from the same people, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like that same
The
series.
nonnery, whatever shit. Um, Apparently it's really good, and I would not be opposed to playing it. I did play. I think what soured me on these style of games was Danganronpa. I tried playing the first one, and I thought it was such anime bullshit cringe that I stopped playing. But I'm hoping these are better than that if I were to play them.
Hmm. Okay. I think there are other ways to play it nowadays. Yeah,
I think
it's
they came out on PC. Yeah.
the Nonary games is it's one of a series of three. So
Mhm.
there's a way.
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass.
Oh, they're on Game Pass?
It was released on Game Pass in March 2022. So they may have taken it down, but
But it's on the Xbox ecosystem. Very cool.
ah,
That's pretty neat. Good for them. Hopefully it
yeah,
sold better over there.
yeah. Hopefully more people. Maybe that's how so many people have played it. Who knows?
That would be funny if ever all these like dude bros are playing it like in between bouts of Call of Duty. They're like, let's boot up some nonnery, bro.
Dude, did you get through the escape room? I used the knife to break open the electric box. No way.
That'd be sick.
Or like top 10 3DS games, number 5, Zero Escape. I played this on Game Pass, but I know it's the best on 3DS. I've tried the demo.
Nice.
Cool. Well, there you have it. That's a hell of a segment. Top
Yeah.
10 best selling and least selling 3DS games. Let us know what you think. Do you have more to add to the list? We'll find out. Comments below. You're welcome. And with that, I turn the reins to you, Sir Spencer of the Archive.
Oh boy. Well, I have a modern game to talk about. So that we'll see how that does. I've been playing this game with JD. Lazy Justice, they call him. And we're playing Baldur's Gate 3. Great. I'm going to say it on the outset. Great game. Highly recommended if you haven't played it. Really fun. Turn-based tactical RPG based on the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm going to put that out there. Before I go into this, I think it's a great game, and I highly recommend it. So if you're looking for a review of it, there it is. But it's gotten me to think about Dungeons and Dragons intersecting with gaming culture, like with like being a video game. And I've come to the conclusion that it quite frankly doesn't work. I don't think D&D really works as a video game and vice versa. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Um, I get nervous because a game like this gets really popular. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is on fire. Like people are buying it like crazy. It's being talked about as like revolutionizing gaming. Maybe it has in some ways. But I get nervous because then I see, I suspect people play it and they're like, oh, maybe I should play Dungeons and Dragons now because like it follows a lot of the same rules. It would be cool to try Dungeons and Dragons. And from that point, it's a cautionary tale because I've seen people get into Dungeons and Dragons and they're looking for a video game experience. And it's not how Dungeons and Dragons works, unfortunately. Dungeons and Dragons, for those that aren't aware, is a game as old as time, I guess you could say. But it's not really a game, it's more of just a tabletop experience. Because if you look at the rules of a game, right? Games have a goal, a purpose. And theoretically, not all games, but most of the time, from a gamer mentality, you're looking to achieve a goal and get and finish it and complete it. Like you do this, and then this happens, and then you beat the boss, credits roll, you win, good job. Okay, that's a game. With Dungeons and Dragons, it's more about the experience. And your characters never complete anything. In fact, I would argue that 99% of Dungeons and Dragons campaign end with a wipe where everybody dies. And then that's it. Like you will never see because there is no end credit scene. I know some people that have played with their characters so much that their character is the max level, which is 20, and they just go on adventures with the level 20 character. It's like, why? Like, what's the purpose? That's what they want to do. That's their experience. So it got me thinking, like, how do you even port over Dungeons and Dragons to a video game? And I think they tried their best. I've seen it done many times with like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. They're a great game. I love it. They've done it for years with other things like the original Baldur's Gates and stuff. And then Pillars of Eternity. And then now here it's Baldur's Gate 3. But there's so many problems with translating Dungeons and Dragons over. And one of the big ones that I've noticed is the ability to save your game. Which, to anybody that's played an RPG, it's kind of the rule that you save often. And as much as you can. And ironically, I think Dragon Quest does it best by not giving you quick save. You have to save at a temple, at a church, however you want to call it. And then you can go about your adventure. But even that is flawed from a D&D perspective. Because in D&D there is no game over. Well, I guess in D&D there is a game over. If the game is literally over and you have to start over. So when you're playing a game, there is no real game over. Like you were saying before you said it about something else, and it resonated with me because it was like, you're right. There isn't a game over. It's go back to your save file. So I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I'll give you an example. In Baldur's Gate 3 and in D&D, the way that you win conversations is through charisma. It's a stat. So you take charisma, and if your charisma is high enough, when you roll, it's possible that you can convince a character to do something or to think a certain way. You're at a bridge, and they say, to get across this bridge, it will cost you 300 gold. You bring your character with high charisma, and you say, hey, I'm pretty cool. Maybe you need somebody on the other side of that bridge like me, and it'll make you more money in the long run to have me across. If your charisma's high enough and you roll well, he'll say, you're right. I think I could use somebody like you over there. You guys can go. Well, here's the problem with that. So if you do that and then you fail the roll, you could then fight him or you could pay him. That's kind of how D&D works.
And KOTOR a little bit.
KOTOR, exactly. You have to you problem solve. So if you fail one way, well, that means the consequence is this. Okay. Here's the problem. We're playing Baldur's Gate 3, right? What do we do right before we get to a conversation?
Save.
We quick save.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I walk up to him, the guy at the bridge, and I say, "Oh, you need me on the other side of that bridge." And then I roll and I fail the roll. My charisma check, even though I'm high in charisma, I rolled poorly, so I failed the roll. And he goes, "Nah, I don't like it." Okay, now in D&D, that's when you have to problem solve. In video games, quick load. And say, let's try it again. So by that token, yes, you've upgraded your charisma as high as you can, but the charisma stat doesn't matter because you're just going to reload if it fails. So your charisma could be as low as possible, and you're just looking to roll a 20. it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So there's a lot of things about D&D that actually don't transfer to a video game very well. And I was just playing it, just thinking about that. And I think I actually probably irritated JD with saying it so often. I was like playing it, and then something like that would happen. And he's like, "Oh, I think we were like at an area," and he's like, "Okay, let's quick save because I know a sneak attack is happening." And I was like, "By you thinking that and choosing to quick save, that is why D&D is not a video game." And he was like, "Well, I'm not playing D&D." And D. And I'm like, "You're right. Nor should you." It's like some of those people should not play Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like you're missing the point of like why we're playing this game in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And it got me to thinking just like how many people probably are now thinking about playing D&D and it is not for them. Yeah. So that's just something I wanted to think about. I was like, I had all that in my head and I'm like, I have nowhere to put that out. Like I have no output for that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you should come on my show. I'm like, okay, I got something. And again, I do want to preface Baldur's Gate 3 is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have fun with it, enjoy it, but also understand that it's broken. Like it's broken from a D&D perspective. It's technically flawed in that way.
I want to make the disclaimer. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. You've invited me to play virtually. I just haven't taken you up on it. And I am not a PC gamer, so I haven't downloaded Baldur's Gate. But with all the hype around it, I'd be interested in maybe trying. There's no reason I can't set up the PC in the other room and just boot up my Xbox 360.
It's coming to console. It's coming to console soon.
What do you think it would be as enjoyable on a console?
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's turn-based, so it's not like clicking or anything that you have to do too fast.
Do you think it's fixable by D&D standards? Like, do you think that adding the Dragon Quest like temple save mechanic would at least redeem some of that authenticity?
Yes, highly.
So it's not that it's not possible. It's just that the measurement wasn't taken.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not a perfect fix?
It's not a perfect fix, but it is a fix. Mm-hmm. Because what you're doing needs to have weight. And in RPGs of today, they severely lack weight in their actions because you can quick save. Yeah, this boss fight looks pretty hard, but I can just quick save the load right before it, and I'll just keep doing it until it works. Mm-hmm. Okay, but imagine, we are an hour deep into this dungeon, and then you have to do that charisma check. Okay, now the charisma stat matters because I can't quick save. If I do this, I have to redo everything. So now my actions actually matter, and I care that charisma stat is high. And I'm even wondering if I should even ask the guy anyway, because if it doesn't work, he'll get mad and he could try to fight me. Okay, so now the tension in the game is there that in Baldur's Gate 3 is completely gone.
So it sounds like from like a thematic level and maybe even conceptual with, your character creation and your builds, Baldur's Gate 3 succeeds on being a D&D like game. But on a mechanical level, it fails. Whereas I've played 100%. Games that are mechanically very much roguelike, start your entire freaking game over, Shiren Mystery Dungeon, handing me my own ass, or any in the Shiren, the Wanderer series. Hades as well, although I think Hades gives you specific boons when you die that you can carry to the next playthrough, and the Shiren games not so much. So they're different playing fields for me. But as far as being D&D games, doesn't sound like it because it's still like the same game. Essentially, even though things are randomized a little bit, it's not based on like your character's like, social abilities or skill levels. Yeah. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. In general, yeah. I mean, those games you brought up, they definitely wouldn't be D&D games, but they do capture like what is right about games and what makes them right. It's hard to say because they're not. You didn't necessarily name one that was D&D ish, But
That's the point, is that they're not D&D
right,
ish,
right.
but in terms of the dying and then like you can't just like, pick up from a save.
Yeah,
The concept of a save is naturally not D&D.
correct.
Right.
Just the whole concept. So yeah. So like having even the Dragon Quest style or being able to save in certain places
Right.
is also not. It's closer because it adds tension. But if you don't have tension, you honestly don't even you really need to question if you have a game, right? Because without tension, I hesitate to say that because games are still popular and people like them, and Baldur's Gate 3 is very well liked. But I think it does lack tension, and I think that's a problem. Where in D&D, that's literally the whole thing. Back in the day, there were almost not even stories in D&D. It was, and I actually prefer that. It was literally just four adventurers who don't know each other have come to this town because there's a bulletin board that says, "We need you to kill the orcs in a cave." That's it. And that was the driving force behind it. It was okay, if I kill them, I get gold, I get potentially loot, and I get experience. There is no other thing behind it. So you go and you do X and you get Y and you have fun doing it and you try to find a solution to it. Maybe it's through talking, maybe it's through combat, probably through combat. Um, I see with Baldur's Gate them really pushing combat as like I don't want to say the background, but it is one of many solutions. And while I think a lot of people like that conceptually, um, D&D is a combat oriented experience or game, and it really needs to be rooted that way. It's okay to be able to solve certain things with charisma, but there should be a lot more instances where you just got to fight your way through. And I do get nervous too, seeing that. There's a whole new. Have you heard of like Critical Role? Have you heard of this? It's like the new popular Twitch thing where they play, and I think might be YouTube or something, but it's like voice actors play D&D. And a lot of my friends get caught up in it, and I think they think that's what D&D is. And it can be for some people. But it's really not D&D because they're doing it for a show. So all their encounters are heavily dialogue focused. And they're like voice actors, they're professional voice actors. So they'll do like the orc. Be like, "Oh, how dare you cross my path?" And they'll do these cool voices and they'll put on the accents and whatever. But D&D fundamentally is you going into a dungeon and killing the bad orc that's in it. Like to get away from that, I see so many ripple effects that have caused problems of expectation and what D&D really is. And it makes me nervous
Yeah.
for the future.
Does it maybe bother is too much of a hyperbolic word to use here, but I mean, do you feel any type of way that Baldur's Gate 3 is marketed as a D&D style game?
Yes. Yes. Um it takes the rules of D&D to make a non D&D experience, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in D&D, classic D&D, I alluded to this earlier, but there aren't cringe stories where you have to save a character who his best friend has turned into a demon and killed 500 people and is now sitting on a throne made of bones and sucks the blood off of the bones. Like that, I don't need D&D didn't used to be about people being like grossed out by how grotesque things are, or like this lady turns into whatever she wants and like eats people. And like it wasn't about that. It wasn't supposed to shock you. It was as simple as I told you before. Go into a cave and kill the mean orc. That's it. At a certain point, and maybe it's Critical Role, maybe it's Baldur's Gate or something, but people expect a really adult story out of these games, and it's not necessary. In fact, I think in a lot of ways it gets in the way. It becomes a problem.
It's more about just the journey than it is the superfluous things. And I think you're right
Yes.
that the culture with the Dungeons and Dragon movie having come out in the past year.
Oh,
And I when I was in Boston, I just was going through the comic book shop, and marketed in the Dungeons and Dragons section. I think there's Stranger Things. I guess there's some crossover there somehow.
yes. The monsters are Dungeons and Dragons characters,
I
which
see
that
now.
worried me too.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like a marketing thing, and unfortunately, the source material is like the sacrificial lamb, for lack of a better term. Like it's just being used as kind of like the oh yeah, hip, cool Dungeons and Dragons, old school gaming, you know, Critical Role.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's become a problem because, and hopefully they ain't listening, but I've played campaigns now, and we'll play for like 3 hours a night, and I didn't look at my character sheet. It was entirely dialogue. Like it was like for 3 hours, we walked around town and talked to people, and that is some people's perspective of what D&D is at this
Mm-hmm.
point. And I'm getting off the thing, and it's like all the guys are like, "Oh, good game. That was good. That was good."
Like what
And I'm
game?
just sitting, yeah. I'm like, "What game? Like what did we do? Like we literally didn't do anything."
Right.
And I was like, "Is that what you think this is?" Because it's weird that you picked a barbarian, figured out every weapon that they're supposed to use, min max their stats so that they can hit as hard as they can, pick the traits that you think would make best for combat, and you spent the whole time talking. Like, does anybody realize that 95% of the game is built on the rules of combat? You spending it talking has done you no favors. I don't. What is your history with it? Like, did you know about? Where did you learn about D&D, and have you ever been interested in it?
It's always been like a game of mystery to me because I always hear about people who, like my younger cousin has a D&D group that he goes to.
Mhm.
He's like, "Oh, you should try it sometime. It's fun." And everyone's always like, "You should try it," but it's like there's no real way it feels like for me to get into it. I don't even know how or where to start with D&D, and I guess I have a fear too of like jumping in too late and maybe not even like it sounds like I might even jump into an inauthentic session. So it's like I
You,
don't.
yeah, and that's part of my big problem. Is how do you get new people in if that's what they think this is? Because they'll hate it.
And I also understand through conversations with Terry that there is no true like video game representation of Dungeons and Dragons. Like it's even though video games are based on the rules of Dungeons and Dragons, they cannot be Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm.
But I don't fully understand that. Like it's one of those things where I feel like I have to experience or see it to understand it. Like I'm doing the best I can to follow your train of thought, but I also don't know. Like if
Right.
I just watch somebody's game online, like is this a real game? I don't know.
And that's part of the problem with it. Is it's really warped what people understand about D&D. Also, side note, what probably hurt D&D was COVID too. Because it used to be where you could walk into a card shop or comic shop or whatever, and there'd be a crew playing it, and you'd be like, "Oh, like," or I can jump in. They'll usually have a character sheet and like, "Here, make a character. You need help? Cool." Everyone was usually cool about it, and that's why it used to be like a social thing. All the games have moved almost exclusively online Zoom.
The orcs have compromised the video, so Spencer
There we
is
go.
going. Okay, he's back. Okay, cool.
So yeah, they've all moved over to like Discord or Zoom or whatever.
Oh.
I still have you, but it's frozen.
Yeah. This time they got the bandwidth.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
I can't hear you though.
No? Still?
Okay, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Let's go.
We're good. So yeah, it's all moved over, so it's digital. It's through webcam, or not even webcam. It's just like these voices that come out, and then trying to make that make sense. And it's so distorted at this point that I don't even think D&D really exists in a lot of ways. And it's unfortunate because I think about people like you, that it's like you would actually be really good at it, and I think you would probably enjoy it. Like you just take a character who's got some stats, and you make decisions like you were that character. Like if I'm a barbarian, and somebody's on a bridge asking me to pay 300 gold, what would I do? I'd probably hit him with my axe as hard as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do it, and that's fucking cool. I think that's lost at this point. I think people would look at you and be like, why didn't you talk to him? He could have told you the secrets of the Bligrong Bee or whatever. And you would be like, oh, because I'm a barbarian. I'm an asshole. Like, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that's lost, and it's unfortunate.
Because I don't have 300 gold for to buy to stay at the inn when we get over to the next town. So screw you, bridge dude.
100%. Yeah. That's exactly how you should play it. And I just don't think people see it that way anymore. It's about dialogue.
So is there a way to experience authentic D&D somehow, whether like from a bystander's perspective or in like fully like an authentic, like engaging way? Like, you know what I mean? Like playing the game nowadays?
Yeah. They're called like game stores now. Like they moved away from being, I think they still might have them in some places.
Like a board game cafe or something.
But they're like cafes. I guarantee you there will be games. I know COVID hurt that, but they should be back. I've seen some advertisements, and I'm sure New York has millions of them. Mm-hmm. Here they're a little bit more sparse, but if you look for like a board game place, I bet you could go there and just sit in on it if you're...
I'll fill in his blank. If you're not a pleb. That is something Spencer would say.
Yeah.
You heard that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Not a pleb. Characters, for sure.
Okay.
But you could sit there and be more than happy to help you.
Okay. Cool. Well, I could jump on the Dungeon and Dragon bandwagon. That's the catchphrase right there. Got any more on the segment? If so, maybe you want to turn the cam off.
I can't
maybe
hear
that
anything.
Hold on, I'm here. I made a stupid rhyme catchphrase for Dungeons and Dragons. You might have missed it, but it's there. Spencer, thank you for the segment. I'm going to presume that due to technical difficulties, we'll call the Dungeons and Dragons bit there. And ladies and gentlemen at home, you can check out Spencer over on his channel, RPG Archive, here on the YouTube. Do you hear me now? Hello? Wow, the call is like freaky. My screen is off. Bizarre. I don't know. Is it coming back? Oh. Hello? Am I here? Spencer? Hello? Spencer? Hello? Spencer? Turn my camera off. Maybe that'll help. No?
Okay.
Oh, am I here?
Back.
Are you here? Maybe let's just go cam
I
off
can
for a
hear
bit.
you. You're here, not the webcam.
Yeah, I turned webcam off.
Okay.
Maybe it'll help with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
No? Yes? Does it help?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
It looks like Carl
Cool.
keeps just leaning in her sleep. She's dozing off. And then
Yeah.
the head just moves. I wish you could do that with John Cena. Dude, yeah, so I wrapped up your segment. I was just like, yeah, that was great, and check out Spencer RPG Archive.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But we are technically in the general webcam off edition for episode 7.
Everyone wonders what my favorite video game is. It's not the one that this character is. But this is my favorite video game character. So,
What makes Harl your favorite video game character?
one, she's cool looking. So there's that. She is very complicated and plays a big role, but doesn't quite know what to do, and she's just so conflicted. It's a very interesting character in a very weird game.
Yeah, I wish I got to use her the whole game. She was like a main party asset for me. I really, and there's a couple dark, the color scheme. I don't even know exactly what I mean, but she's like in the black category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of those, I really liked her. She was really cool.
Yeah, and it was cool just trying to piece together what exactly she was and who her allies were, because she was so back and forth, and it I liked that she was like a secret agent, like a double agent, but like still she got emotionally attached in parts of it, and I just find her so interesting.
Yeah, and even then she was like a double agent who was also a pawn, an unknowing pawn.
Yeah. That game is so complicated. It's like
I couldn't piece it together. Anybody that thinks they can is lying.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's making sense out of the nonsensical.
Right.
Cool game though. I missed that. I would love to play it again. And it's on Switch. I was debating, and Xbox. I was debating just getting it.
I bought it on principle on the PS5 as soon as it came out. So I'm always down to play it again. Just to be like, put my 2 cents in that I'm supporting this franchise.
Right.
Even if that's not necessarily the one. I think I would rather see them remake Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
And just remake it. Like however they want to make it, action based, whatever. I already have a turn based version, so I'm cool with that. They can remake it however they want. But I'd be curious to see them remake that game. Mm-hmm. I have some interesting thoughts on Chrono Trigger as I get older. I consider it a joke at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just a joke, and it's a really good joke.
It's like a parody of RPGs or something.
Yeah, exactly. Even the items I realize are jokes. Like at the end of the game, the gold stud, right? It reduces cost of casting by like 75%. Like what? It's like an inherently stupid item and like insanely overpowered. I think the rainbow sword has like a 75% crit chance. It's like dumb, but it's just like funny. Like it's a joke.
Yeah, it's
just a
rainbow
really
sword. Yeah.
It's just like a really good joke.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the concept of the noble frog.
Exactly. All of the stories they're just like making fun of, whatever story they're trying to tell, like a robot that's from the future that actually is like a human. He's just like he's supposed to kill humans, but he just kind of likes them. And then, yeah, it's just stupid. But it's
mocking humanity too.
Yeah, which then makes Chrono Cross like worse and worse as I get older, because it was like To me, Chrono Cross is like we didn't get the joke, and we're like trying to make this like this super serious, important RPG, and it's like, oh, you just forgot that Chrono Trigger was like a joke. Why
Yeah,
was
like
Frog in it?
forcing the
Because
connections to the joke that is Chrono Trigger.
yeah, yeah. They're like, oh, and what if like Robo did this because he was? It's like, no, he was like a joke because he liked the humans even though he was supposed to kill them. Like he was just a joke.
But what if that's
Like,
the
oh, wow.
joke
Yeah.
of Chrono Cross? Is like people taking the Chrono Trigger story too seriously?
Wow, that is some 3D chess. If that's what they were doing, that is pretty or 4D chess. That is insane.
Like, let's throw a wrench in it. Let's just you know what? Halfway through,
Craft.
let's just decide that it actually does connect to Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
I think I like reinventing it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool like presentation-wise game though. I do wish though that like you were talking about weight before, like your gameplay had more weight. Like the fact that like every character levels up at once and it basically makes any party that you make essentially meaningless because you could swap them out at any time. I do like that you can that like attacks and attacks are equipable on anybody. You could do any type of attack.
Yeah.
Um
No, yeah, there's good things and there's ways to improve it. I really love the battle system, but again, without experience even. Like on the remake, they made modes where it's just there is no battles. There are no battles outside of like the boss fights. They're that useless.
that makes sense.
So-
Yeah, because there's no grinding.
Yeah, I mean you can only grind like after a boss fight you fight like 3 battles and you get like a couple points here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like what a waste. Like what a complete waste. It's like that game.
Yeah.
For how much I love it, that game is so frustrating. It's like watching a child that's like an idiot. It's like I really want to love you, but you're freaking broken.
Maybe that's another joke, like against like typical turn-based mechanics. You know how everyone tends to overgrind their levels. Well, now you can.
That could, yeah, like fuck you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Try it overgrind.
Just try it. Grind. Go ahead and battle 10 enemies. Constantly mocking the person playing it. It's a game. It's a love-hate relationship. It's made to be hated.
Seems like it.
Yeah, but there's so much to love. That's what I'm conflicted. I'm a Harl.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm right there with you.
What if we?
It's
were
like
Harl?
it was my first. It was my first PS1 game that I owned.
Really?
I played the shit out of it, and I was like, "This game is great." But then as like time went on, and I played it more, and really started comparing it to Chrono Trigger, I'm just like, this game's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm. Did you buy a PS1 so you could play this game?
Not specifically, but it was the first. Like I went to GameStop, I remember, and I bought the PS1, like the smaller version. Not the. I guess there's like a PSX and then a PS1, and I bought a PS1, and then that was the game I bought because it was like, oh, is this the sequel to Chrono Trigger? Cool. And then was very confused.
Oh, yeah.
For a while there. But I mean, dude, when I saw Chrono, Luca, and Marl at like the end of time, or the Sea of Eden or whatever it was, I freaking popped.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what? There they are. And my friends that are watching me play, like, what? They're like 3 children. I was like, you don't get it. You don't understand.
Oh man. It wasn't as impactful for me, but I definitely it clicked when I got to that point where it's like, oh, it is a Chrono.
Yeah, it is a sequel. Had me fooled for a while. There's some cool Easter eggs, like in Link's castle or whatever. Pretty early on, you visit there, like you're breaking in, or the Viper Mansion. If you go you can go down into like a cellar, and the Epic is in there. Like you can literally walk on it,
Hmm.
which is really what a cool. I definitely didn't catch that with my first playthrough, but you can. It's trippy to see that. It's like, oh shit, this guy. I remember him.
Which one was the epic?
The space the ship that you flew around you in Chrono Trigger.
Oh, when you said this guy, you meant like the ship. Okay, I see.
Yeah, yeah,
I got confused. Yeah, I remember
yeah.
seeing it at some point, but I don't know. Yeah, and then disc two is really where like the nostalgia kicks into play because you're going through like that computer room, and I think they're playing
Yeah.
some of the flashbacks.
Yeah, and they'll show like pictures of Lavos,
Hmm.
like the kind of like the ones that you saw in the future in Chrono Trigger.
That's what I loved was like just the brain teaser elements. Like even though I couldn't make sense of it, like just the act of like okay, this is documenting the end of the world, but I'm here now. So how did this happen? You know, it's just like I'm naturally like asking myself these questions while I'm playing.
Yeah. Too bad it ended up being like Lost.
Yeah. One
It's
of
like a
these
lot of good
days,
questions, like a lot of good thoughts, a lot of good questions to ask, and a lot of like cool ideas. And you're just like, I can't wait to see what how it all comes together. And it's like, oh, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it doesn't come together at all.
There is, I swear. I mean, if we probably just sat down with like, the scripts or something, or after two subsequent playthroughs, there is probably somewhere there is a quick fix in that game. It's probably right after that.
Could be.
If you just tweak this element to the story, you know, Surge is freaking Chrono's biological, great great grandchild or something. I don't know.
That'd be tough because it was like right after
Oh, was
or
it?
shortly after.
Hmm. I don't have the
I
lore
think
too
because
deep.
Kid was Scala, who was taken in by Luca in her orphanage.
Kid is Scala. Scala was the sister to Magos.
Magus
Magus.
or Janus at the
Oh,
time.
okay.
And okay, and again, it just the story is nonsense, but I'll just say it as I understand it.
Right.
Scala, whatever you call it, Scala. She
Jewish.
she has been captured by the Dream Devourer,
Okay.
stupid enemy, and she transfers her persona, her character, her essence, her something, and turns it into a child that Luca takes care of.
Okay.
Don't know how. I don't know what the magic is. I don't know whatever. But there you have it. So it's like I don't know, it's more nonsense from that series.
Wait, the child is Kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is an essence of Scala.
Okay.
Trying to get Surge. Basically her destiny is to get Surge to kickstart his journey.
Yeah,
To
and
get
something
motion.
about navigating the two parallel timelines so
Cool concept.
something doesn't happen or happens. I don't remember too well
It's
at this point.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But it's fun while it lasts.
Surge could be like a memory wiped Chrono or something, and like transplanted, but the complete different like physical appearance doesn't really communicate that. They're kids in the flashback, right? He's visited by like Chrono and Marl.
Yeah, I think they are kids, like little versions of themselves.
Okay.
Well, I think the story everybody wanted was Magus.
Uh-huh.
That's the one everybody was looking for. And obviously we talked about it a little bit in the archive, but originally in the Radical Dreamers, Magus was Guile.
Mm-hmm.
But that all got scrapped, probably for better, because the story was already incredibly complicated. But it's just so now it's not even remotely what the story what anybody wanted. It's just all it's like a separate. It really is just fan fiction,
Mm-hmm.
is what Chrono Cross should be looked at as.
Yeah, and you know what? What really cements it as a joke to me is the ending credits sequence where Kid is literally just wandering around New York City and just freaking idling.
Yeah.
Like that's like okay, yeah, there is zero correlation here.
Oh. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's like I give up, throw up the white flags like on the developer's part.
Yep.
We
Yeah, I'm
tried.
done.
Like Chrono Cross on the box art, right? 2 words. We tried.
Yep. Sorry.
You get Guile. He's a shell of Magus. That's what you get.
But it's like at the time, that's what PlayStation RPGs were, right? Like PlayStation RPGs, as much as I love them, they're also like their stories are just bonkers. I don't know why they had to go so overboard. Like even Final Fantasy VII, it's just it turns into just nonsense.
Hmm.
Like why do they have to do that? 9, it does that. 8 is like forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about 8. Like it's just it doesn't. It's just absolute garbage. Xenogears, I hear, gets pretty crazy in the second. I heard they ran out of time, just like they did on this one. So the second disc is pretty. Eh. Um, it's just unfortunate that they thought that they like games had to be that. Like that's more adult. Was just complicated, like needlessly convoluted. And Chrono Trigger, as Chrono Trigger is a joke, but that's the sad part about to me is that it's also like it's not only a joke, but it's also so much better than most of those games in like every way. And they
Yeah.
just didn't care. It's like, hey, if you just don't care and make like just a stupid game, it's a better story than if you really try.
That's you know what? It's got to be a PlayStation '90s edgelord thing.
Yeah,
That's
for
the theme.
sure.
'Cause it always goes back to Final Fantasy VII. You know, and maybe it's because I don't know. We don't have the years. Maybe 7 was '98, and I think Chrono Cross was '99 or 2000.
1,000.
But I mean, you could maybe the halfway point where they started like going crazy with the story was when they saw the success of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know.
Could be.
And they're like, we gotta make it like super, you know, teched out. Like you gotta try and figure this out, but it actually doesn't end up making sense in the end. Because I can't make sense of Final Fantasy VII.
No.
That's
It's like-
making sense of nonsense to me. Like, there's no point.
Yeah, Cloud isn't Cloud. It's he's got his memory from Zach. And then that like by that point my brain just kind of goes numb.
Right, and then we're reliving the same Cloud mansion sequence, but as Cloud, looking at Cloud, and I'm like, and this is the game that like nobody shuts the hell up about. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the game is Midgar. Final Fantasy VII is Midgar. And that is phenomenal.
So why?
And
can't...
then everything else,
Yeah,
everything else after it, everything after Midgar is just like Final Fantasy, like generic almost.
Yeah.
And it's like, but everyone remembers Midgar because it was so cool and unique and like moody and badass. And that's pretty much what the remake is for so far. It's just Midgar.
So why can't Chrono Cross be Termina? You know, pre-links. Can it?
Are you saying like, where did it jump the shark?
Um.
Like it was a good at Termina, and then you learn about links, and then it's like starts to nosedive.
Yeah. Well, where do you think the nosedive is?
I would say it's at its peak when you're at the Dead Sea. That is like one of my favorite moments in video games, is going to the Dead Sea.
That's right at the
and
disc
like
switch too.
yeah, and like the water is frozen,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to walk around in it. Like holy shit, that's freaking awesome. And you get to see like glimpses of the future, and then you're because that's when like all the cool questions get posed. It's like, what is this? Like, what is this? And then you're watching them try to explain it after, and it's like, oh no, this is not.
Maybe you should have just
I
ended
think,
at disc
yeah.
one and just been like to be continued. Like, we'll figure this
Oh,
shit
that
out.
that'd have been amazing.
Yeah.
Because if I could explore more of the Dead Sea, oh, that'd be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time travel will always be tricky to navigate. On the one hand, it's good because it like raises the questions, but on the other, it's just
Logic.
yeah, you can't make sense of the questions.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that like I'm still thinking about it. I feel like you're still thinking about Chrono Cross a little bit. You know, it's been so long. I haven't touched that
Has,
game since we played it, but I still think about it. I still think about the music too, you know.
oh yeah. The music will haunt you. It's just I'm not even a music, I'm not even a music guy. But that game it's like, whoa.
I think about the character art. Like you really like Harl. I really like Kid. You know, she's cool. Even
She's
Surge.
cool.
Surge is cool.
Is that why you wanted to play the GameCube that GameCube game that's getting remastered?
What, the Bat and Kaitos?
Yeah, yeah.
No, not necessarily. What, like, for what reason do you mean?
Well, it's like the same squad, right?
No. I have
They have like
played a decent amount of Bat and Kaitos,
oh, okay.
and I enjoyed
never
it for what
even-
it was. And you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, and it's kind of got a card-based system, so I mean, it's not bad. It's good for what it is.
Okay. Because I think it was like a lot of the same people that made that went over to do that. You can sort of see it in the art a little bit.
Yeah, the art is. Yeah, there's similarities, and I think I like that kind of like tropical setting too. I think the music is good
Mhm.
for Bat and Kaitos, so. Yeah, if you're open, but like I think I got to keep going back to stay the course with Dragon Quest, and like Dragon Quest 8 is really good, and we got to play it.
What are your thoughts on playing 11? Are you like
Next,
daunted? Not next, but just in general, like, because we're going to do it. Are you like daunted by it?
I guess a spoiler for the 7 archive is I can't wait to be freaking done with this, man.
It's bad. Like
7
pacing wise.
or
Pacing
11?
wise, I should say. 7.
7, yeah, 7 because we come across this issue every so often. I think with 6 we came across this issue a couple times, but I managed through it pretty well. With 7, I've been picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down so many freaking times. I'm not excited to like get back to my playthrough like the next day. I keep making sure I set up somewhere with my save where the next thing I have to do is pretty freaking obvious. And sometimes
Smart.
I don't do that because, you just can't control that all the time. I pulled up a
Yeah.
guide like 5 times now, maybe.
It's not well designed. It's very clear. I think they were smart with 8 to like, okay, guys, let's really tone this down and bring it back to the basics. And they fucking nailed it. But 7 must have just been a wake up call. Like, guys, we're getting a little crazy with this series, right? Like lately. This
Yeah.
game has no right to be 70 hours. Like, it's just
No.
there's no reason.
I mean, if anything, you should invert this one an 8. Make this one 45 and make fucking, 8 like, 70.
Yeah. Well, it's just got characters, man. This game 7 doesn't really have them.
I think I'm a little more excited about 11. First off, because I can't wait to go back to console.
Okay.
So I think that having it on the big screen and like going through some of those caves, I played through the full demo for 11, and it's no slouch. It's like 10 hours, and I really liked what I played. I just didn't own it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the PS4 one, and playing on PS4 is a little icky for me, so I don't I didn't play it. And then I got the Switch one. It's just that I think we had started like our sabbatical at that point, and I was just focusing on the smaller ones and kind of working my way up. I think I'm more excited story wise for 8 than 11, but 11 I still think it's going to be a treat.
Well, I'm down to do either one next. I didn't know you'd be interested from like the playing at a console, but now I realize you said that before that you like just chilling at a console and gaming. So I'm down for either. I mean, we've already gone out of order, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Right. And I think 11, well, because I have the Switch one, it's accessible either way. If I need to bring it portably, I can. But I think it's warranted on console. Like it will look good on the TV no matter what.
Yes. I do. I'm curious though because I think we should set the rule that you have to do the quote unquote complete ending for it.
Okay.
Because it is the full. There's a lot more story. Like whereas in like 4 and 5, it just seemed really tacked on.
Yeah.
11, it's like a whole new. It's like a whole story. That's
Okay.
really interesting.
Well, I have 11S anyway, so that'd be easy or not easy, but accessible at least. So, and I'm down. As the Dragon Quest aficionados, it's only right.
It's only right.
You know, um, my girlfriend said she was interested in playing Dragon Quest 11. It was just out of the blue. I didn't like prompt it out of her. I was like, hell yeah,
Oh, that would be
that's
badass.
a keeper right there.
She's a keeper, man. It's a good game. Really good.
Yeah, so that's my feelings on it. But I do worry that if we did 11 next, I worry that playing 8 on 3DS would be a little more underwhelming.
For you, maybe because you really love that console experience. I
Yeah, go ahead.
love playing games portably. Like it's been a pastime for so long for me that portable gaming is like peak for me.
I see. I recognize that 8's story might be better, um, but I think 11 is like the magnum opus in some ways. There's like the series fully realized, you know, on a bunch of
Yeah.
fronts. So I think that it might diminish some of 8, but the opposite of that might be because I'm already kind of jaded on playing 7 on handheld, that maybe I'll have the same issue with 8.
hmm Well, I think with 11, what might fix that is that 11 is like 100 hours long,
Yeah.
and 8 is like a beautiful 40.
Mm-hmm.
So, so after going like 100 hours on 11, you're like, okay, and our next game is only 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be like, oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? Just
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I think those 11 100 hours are going to go much quicker than the 700 hours.
oh, for sure,
You know
yes.
what's crazy? I told you because I told you back in June, let's start 7 because I have all summer, so this is a good time. Even after that, and I didn't even restart the game. I started from my like 5 hour mark or something. I only got 50 hours in. So like now here we are, and okay, yes, I'm past the halfway point, but it's daunting.
It really is.
Where are you
It's
at? Or did you make any progress since we last talked?
No, I'm gonna do it today because I just get busy with that. Like we're trying to beat Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm kind of that's my big gaming time right now.
Oh, sweet. I don't know who the
Um,
other is, but you don't have to tell me.
it's JD.
Oh, is it?
Playing
Okay,
with
cool.
JD.
I thought maybe Alex
Yeah.
would be playing or something.
No, but one day maybe we'll play together. It's a fun game.
Yeah, I was interested in starting maybe my first Souls like.
With what? Elden Ring?
Yeah.
It's fucking good, dude.
So I
It's
hear.
the most it's the most accessible.
Are you interested
because
in
it's
the
yeah.
Armored Core,
No, no.
even though it's the same guys?
Yeah, I don't like mechs. Like I made it very clear to people, I do not like robots. I don't like getting in them. I don't like controlling them. Mechs are not interesting to me.
Okay.
It's like when people are like, we should play Xenogears, I've played it, and as soon as you get into a mech, I'm like disgusted.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. It's just a weird like block in my head of me just not liking mechs because it's prevented me from playing games like Xenogears and like getting really into Armored Core because I kind of liked it, but it like back in the day, like the customization was kind of cool. But there's other like animes, a lot of them have mechs in them, and it's just like I just can't. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
not interested in that.
I kind of see it. I just thought that maybe because it was the same guys that did Elden Ring, like that might be a selling point.
It is the only selling point. Because I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Robots, huh? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's what you pick. Yeah, like what if the same, like what if the Dark Souls guys did like freaking, waifu souls? It's like I would not be like, or what if like Zelda
Alex?
guys did that? Like I wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
It's an interesting choice.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I have trouble understanding the like company loyalty sometimes.
I don't
People
know.
who
I
are
mean,
like diehards, like
well, sure, those people are weird, but I'm all for company loyalty. I think if you make a series of good games, that is fantastic, and you should be rewarded. People should give you the benefit of the doubt if and donate to your cause. I've seen it go sideways for many companies and then do well for other companies. Like this game, like Baldur's Gate 3, right? Like Larian Studios made Divinity and Divinity 2, and I don't know if they made anything else, but those are the two games. And they were really good, and people liked it. And then when they're like, we're doing Baldur's Gate 3, everyone was really excited, and I think that's awesome. And now whatever game they make next will sell incredibly well, and as it should. It's up to them to make sure that it lives up to that expectation. See, unfortunately, we see other companies that have failed that, and they pay the price. Like we got CD Projekt Red really stumbled, which I didn't even think it was that bad, but apparently it's. But I mean, I see what the issues were, and then the big one was Bethesda. Is there with Starfield? Hopefully, they're making some returns, but like, man, when they released Fallout 4, and it was just a buggy mess. People are like, oh, hold on. They're getting a little too big for their britches over there.
that's the danger.
So.
That's the danger of like that level of brand loyalty where you expect every single thing to be a freaking banger. Because then if that's the case, that one game that's not can be devastating. And so a company can't afford to do that. Like I'm even looking at the Mercury Steam guys, like, and they've done nothing in between the Metroid Samus Returns and Metroid Dread, and even after.
Think they're too scared?
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to. They want to keep their legacy going.
Sure, I can see it. Fuck.
Versus like Atlas, like I don't expect every Atlas game to be that interesting to me because they do so many. Like first off, they do Dancing All Nights, so automatic no. And then two is like then there's a bunch of like I don't want to call them waifu RPGs. They're not all like that, but like some that are just like more anime inspired.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm like, yeah, I like Atlas, but I don't like a lot of these games, so I hesitate with saying I'm like an Atlas fan.
Have you heard of the term gameplay loop before?
In what sense?
Like people will be like, I really like the gameplay loop of this game, of like you go out into the field, you grind, you collect items, come back, sell them, rest, repeat.
I don't think I've heard of the term, but I understand the concept. It's like if like a grinding in a freaking Dragon Quest or a Pokemon game or something.
Yeah, and it's I've been really cognizant of it lately because it's like I realize now that I think in a lot of ways video games play you instead of you playing them. And that somewhere along the line a gameplay loop became the norm, and it's really like back in the day, like PS1 RPGs, Super Nintendo RPGs like Chrono Trigger and stuff. They didn't have a gameplay loop. They kind of did, like you go to the next town and you do this and that. But it was nice when they would then have to like slowly break away from that, and it's like, okay, now you got to go back to this one because this guy, and then they would really mix it up. But now it seems, and especially when you were talking about Atlas, it brought it up in my head. It's like Atlas makes games based off of gameplay loops, like all of their games. They almost feel like work, which is kind of funny that it turned out that way. But I think in a lot of ways the games play you.
Etrian Odyssey, you make the map.
Yeah, it's like you make the map. You go into this world, farm for as long as you can, get the gold, get items, go back, sell it, try to make enough where when you then rest, you still have a lot left over, so you can buy better items to go back into the field and rinse, repeat this process until you see end credits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's interesting that they've monetized the game like working. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's literally like playing these games is like working, like it's like a chore, but it's fun for whatever reason because we have like lizard brains. Yeah. But it's still like it's somehow it got that way where we expect an RPG then to just be that like work. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I gotta put in the time. Better put on a podcast because I'm about to grind for 3 hours.
Yeah, you're craving it. You're craving that like, okay, I need to get my grind in or something. Like, you know, I'm off for the night. It's time to grind, you know? So give me that game that's going to fit that itch or that niche.
How did they do that? I feel like it's like mind controlled almost. It's crazy. It's like, did you play the new whatever game? And they're like, yeah, I was just grinding for like 3 hours. I got some really good loot, like Diablo. Like I'm playing Diablo. What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing my dailies, and I just beat like the final ultimate boss 300 times. I got the run. I got this really rare item. It's like, okay, you're not playing the game. The game is playing you.
Right.
Like the game has taken control of your life and has forced you to do these things that you would in no way want to do that.
Oh, some games
like,
are so much more invasive than others too. Like Fortnite, like daily events, or like, you know, these things that are like missable, or, you know, you got to be part of the club for, you know. And the thing I was thinking too is like there are certain itches where that will always be gratifying, you know, like the Atlas workers grind itch. I think of like, we were talking about the Xbox 360 thing before. The FPS itch failed.
Yeah.
It failed gaming. I dropped off in the 360 era. You know, but I played my share. I played Call of Duty 2, played Halo 2 and 3, and then I never wanted to touch another Call of Duty again. I never played another Halo after that. You know?
Yep.
FPS itch failed. I mean, maybe not. Maybe so. Open world itch, that one's starting to get a little tired, although I think people generally like it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it well, or you can do it like a weird loop where it's like Assassin's Creed, where there's 50 items on your screen that it's like, go here, get this collectible. It's like, Jesus, okay. Sorry. Can I just walk around? Like,
yeah.
I think that's why like Elden Ring is so enticing. It's like it doesn't do any of that. It literally won't even tell you what the quests are. You're just like kind of, if you figure out how to solve one, it's good on you. There's no intention of it. But yeah, it's like it's amazing to see how the games are just playing people now. It's like I remember you talking with Legend of Leo about like achievements. Like those are completely artificial and have no bearing on the game whatsoever. And yet there are people that will just chase them. It's like, oh, this game has 10 achievements that are pretty easy. I will buy that game and get those 10 achievements. It's like, why? Like, why did you bought Barbie's Ultimate Horse Adventure because it had easy achievements?
Well, that's pretty extreme. I don't know anybody like that.
I have seen people do videos about this where it's like I literally only bought it because it has easy achievements.
But those are people who do videos. Like that's a different
It's on message.
itch.
It's on message boards, man.
That's okay.
Like
In real life, you meet people like this.
No, I don't. No, I don't meet those people. I don't talk to those.
So that's like
people,
such an
but
exception. You know, like I guess you'll see like, sure, like, yeah, are there themes around like trophy hunters and platinum hunters? Yeah. The people I do meet people in real life, you know, coworkers or whatever, who really do care about like getting trophies or getting achievements. Like that's how invasive it is. Like that's what gaming means to them.
Yeah,
That's missing
like,
the forest to me.
100%. I'm like, but it's just another way that the games play you now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and it was weird. It's like World of Warcraft, right? Like you have a quest and there's a checklist. You have to get this, do this, and get the X amount of furs, and then your lizard brain is like, I need to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like now I need to have this checklist cleared off. And what's your reward for clearing off the checklist? Another checklist. Like that's what gaming is to, and they've mastered it so well that it's like, we want you to literally buy this game because it's a checklist. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that's
The irony
Jesus.
is that it makes it, well, I think, and his point, not, I mean, I to some extent, not entirely his point, but part of the implications of what he's saying is because of that symptom of video gaming becoming a series of checklists, it's counterintuitive because you can't then go into like more games per year, but there's the system still produces so many games like that, so you just can't, you can't truthfully or authentically engage in the medium in that way. They've set you up to fail.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Which is why I could never play games like that in that way.
Yeah, it's really like a challenge in your brain when you're doing it. It's like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like the whatever the newest one, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool game, like really awesome graphics, really awesome combat. I love it, and it's also like putting me to work. So I'm like really balancing that. Like, do I really want to like slave away at the way this game wants me to play it? And it's always when you're getting these new games, it's really trying to find that balance. Like fuck Assassin's Creed, I ain't even gonna touch that shit. Like, have you seen like the HUD on that?
Mm-mm.
Like, whoa, it's more words on it than like scenery. Like it's littering the damn. The graphics are amazing. Like modern graphics are so cool. Why litter it with like lines that say "Go to our shop," "Go to this point on the map," "Click this," like kill 10 of these guys. Like oh my god, it's just, that stuff is terrible, man.
Yeah, and I mean, different. If I was really into Assassin's Creed, maybe I would look past it or something. Maybe I would like, be really into that because there's more to do there. But I think generally like simpler is better, or like a certain level of simplicity, because otherwise I can get lost in a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like, okay, I got a Zelda, I got 9 dungeons, I'm gonna get some heart pieces on the map if I want to, but it's not in my face. It's cool. It's simple. It's fun. And the adventure is just exploring. And that's it. It has nothing to do with map completion. It has nothing to do with getting 100% of the Skulltulas. It's just there. It's just part of the journey. It's just, and this, I mean, to me, that's like simulating life in the most authentic way possible. Could I ever explore even the state of New York 100%? Never. Not in a lifetime. But can I enjoy, going down some of the streets and learning about new neighborhoods? Sure, I do that every so often, maybe like once a month.
You couldn't explore all of New York, nor would you want to.
Right.
Right? Like why would you want to find 100 Skulltulas? I mean, you could if that was your thing, but you shouldn't have to. And in the game, it certainly doesn't really incentivize it. So it's like, just if you want to, go for it. Otherwise,
Which
it's
is
fun when you collect.
which is
You got half of
why
them.
the
Good for you.
internet is home to bullshit like people saying I 100% of Barbie's horseback riding, you know, because like nobody is fucking doing that shit in real life. I went to 100 halal restaurants in Long Island, New York. Who the fuck cares? You know, like, but you know, but it's like a challenge or something, and people want to make a big baity title. You know why? Because there's no more authentic ideas on the internet. So people are scratching their brains trying to figure out the thing that nobody else has done so that they can say they did it and get some kind of ego trip out of it, get some clicks, whatever it is, whatever venue, if it's a message board or a YouTube video or a freaking TikTok. You know, it's so dumb.
For sure.
That's where I think what it means, like what is the implication of all that? It's the disintegration of humanity. You know, people are losing their humanity because the human side is just stepping away from that and realizing that it's all bullshit. It doesn't matter. You know?
Yeah.
I can explore a tenth of New York and be satisfied.
The computers are like, you should go work. And we're like, we're like, oh, I've been saying yes to that like every day. What the hell? Or I've been agreeing to go to work when I'm supposed to be playing video games.
You know what another one is like Netflix or TV shows. Oh, you don't watch this? What do you mean? Oh, like I don't
binging.
I don't watch that shit. You know, it's I'm not part of the conversation if like I haven't watched this, you know, this show or like cuz it doesn't sound interesting to me or something.
Yeah, my sister was like, "Hey, you should watch this show." And then I was like, "Yeah, maybe." And then she just messaged me like a week ago or whatever, and she's like, "Have you seen it yet?" I'm like, "Oh no, I don't watch shows. Whatever you recommended, I'm not gonna watch it because I don't watch shows. Too bad. Like I will literally just watch what I want to watch, and I completely ignore that. Like people freak out when I'm like, you should watch the best show I've seen is probably 30 Rock, and they're like, oh okay, how many seasons of it are there? And I was like, I think there's like 7, but you should just start at season 4. And they're like, oh no, I couldn't do that. And I'm like, I'm telling you, there's literally no reason to watch seasons 1 through 3. It's completely pointless. The story, there's no story. It's not like you need to know anything. It's just a funny show. And they're like, I just couldn't do it. Like, why not? Why can't? Why do you have to watch all of something that's miserable? Like, why do you have to? Why, like, people are like, I have to finish the show, and I'm like, I hate it. I'm like, why would you watch it? Like, because I started it. Just stop. Like, if you hate it, just don't do it anymore. It's pretty easy. Fuck that show. Say it sucks. Did you finish it? No. Who cares? It sucked. Move on.
I think people are desperate to be a part of a conversation and to feel like they're in.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I think that's also why people, I mean, and you know what, this is not to say I don't do this, but like, you know, I like to travel sometimes, but not all the time. I can't afford it, certainly. But I feel like like there's, you know, if you ever like watch like shows or, you know, back when like I was in a dating pool, like the dating profiles always be like, and I like to travel. Why do you like to travel? It's like the thing that makes you interesting, that you think it makes you interesting, because
like
you're well traveled. You know.
Yeah, I'd say good luck with that. I hate it.
Yeah,
I literally, I can't get on a plane anymore. It's getting worse and worse. So I just want to throw up when I'm sitting on a plane. Like I just physically can't do it. Like, so that would be a whatever. I don't even know, left or right. I don't know what swiping is, but it would be one of those where I'm saying no.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to work. Peace.
That's why, like, when I get back to work, like after summers, the first question's always like, oh, did you go anywhere? Like, why did I have to go somewhere? You know, my home is fine.
I went to Hyrule. I went to Argonia. Little bit of Azeroth. Lot of Runeterra. Beautiful views. Most of them had trees.
That's so exotic. Yeah. What countries are those in?
Yeah.
Kyoto, Japan. Uh, this one, I think there's a studio in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did you go? You went to Wisconsin to see your family and went to their McDonald's? Very cool. Very, very cool. Oh, they have a steakhouse there too? Nice. Nice.
You went to the tap house, drank your life away.
Yeah. Really interesting. Oh, cool. You went to your family in Florida.
The beer is
Nice.
to die for, literally.
Yeah, I'm like so uninterested with any of that. It's like, I do not care.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Spencer. It
Thanks for having me, man.
was a great episode. I enjoyed having you. I enjoyed the segments. We worked through the orcs apocalypse. Didn't get the best of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe the viewers at home, you could tell me the best way, or anything you know about Dungeons and Dragons, how you'd get into it, and your experience with the undervalued 3DS games, and anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, one segment I have introduced is the final word. Spencer of RPG Archive, I'm giving you the final word to close us off. Take it away.
It's just one word.
No, it could be like
I feel like other people have done sentences, huh?
Yeah, well, it's just don't take it too literally. The final word is you get to close us off.
Okay. Play RPGs because you love them, not because you have to.